All right. Let's see if we can't get a little bit of Linux going today. All right, we're going to see. Oh, wow. Got people downstairs talking. I might have to close my door. Hold on a second. Give me a second here, guys. All right. Sorry about that. I'm back. Also, it looks like my sound input is not quite working on my microphone. So give me a second here. Oh, you know what? That only works if I go into studio mode. There we go. Or go out of studio mode. All right. So what are we doing today? We're hanging out, talking shop. I'm at the end of one class of college, getting ready to start teaching some other ones. We're in between courses for the Professional Linux Users Group in our normal meetings, but those are still kind of going. And I gotta really emphasize this. I'm really gonna push it in the future classes, but down here, right? If you're thinking of doing the course, right? If you're like, oh, I wouldn't mind doing the Linux sysadmin course or the Linux security engineering course, like that sounds like a fun little project for me to do. Well, you can do them on your own. They're here, and there's books that go with them. In fact, I'm going to go grab the books right now, and I'm going to post the books in here so everybody knows exactly where the two books are. So here's the Linux LAC, right? Here's the LAC book here, right here. And then we're also going to grab the other book, which I think actually I have just on a different... I just have that over here maybe. Yeah. Security engineering course is just right here, so I can just grab this and then course books. And hey, Hack Planet, how's it going? We are never working too hard, but there's the two course books. Let's get rid of those embeds because those are annoying. There's the course books for anybody that needs them. So yeah, now everything's right in the beginner start here. So anybody that joins our Discord, you've got access to recordings and courses and stuff to go study. But I'm going to really emphasize this, and I've been emphasizing it, but I don't think people take me very seriously. Like, if you want to get the cool little certifications that come with it, because there's little certificates that we give out, you can only get those if you do all of your discussion posts. If you're not doing your discussion posts, it's not even... I mean, it's still good. I still think it's useful for you guys to go do, but like, you know, you won't get the cool little cert. So like, if you want the cert, you got to be doing these discussion posts and getting in and talking with everybody and stuff. And, you know, I know people might say, well, why would I want to do that? Why would I want to like put my ideas out there? Well, you're going to have to put your ideas out there when you want to get a job. You're going to have to put your ideas out there if you want to convince somebody to hire you as a contractor or hire your business. So, I mean, like, you don't learn this stuff and do this stuff in a vacuum. You've got to show people that you know how to do it, right? So, a big part of being an academic, a big part of understanding this stuff is, sorry, I'm yawning over here, is being able to convince others that you can do it, right? So, anyways, there's that. So, there is a technical portion to the course. It's not all hands-on, although the hands-on is where I think you'll learn a lot. You do also have to do the write-ups, and you know, our stuff is not designed to just teach you Linux. I can teach you Linux down in the command line. We can go get in there and killer Coda right now, and we can do Linux all night. But how are you reacting and working with a business, right? Like how much are you, you know, doing things that are interacting with the business? I mean, I don't want to say the Linux side of it's the easy side. The Linux side's not necessarily the easy side for everybody. It's that you do have to interface with other people, right? Gone are the days of them just leaving me in the server room and nobody bugging me about project stuff. Those days probably been gone for me for about 10 years. Probably going to be gone for you as you start your career. You have to get in here and do this stuff. Well, thank you for that. So Quartz 1 just gave a bunch of gift subs. That keeps everybody motivated. Also, anybody that got a gift sub, you know, you don't have to watch any ads for like a month, so that's kind of cool. But I appreciate that, Quartz. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. My wife's got all of her beauty school friends over right now. Oh, you just got back from the dentist? I actually called my dentist today because I thought I had a dental appointment today or tomorrow. And I was talking to I was talking to the receptionist lady, and I said, "Hey, wait, so when's my next appointment?" She goes, "Not till July 23rd." And I said, "So I brushed my teeth this morning for nothing?" And I thought that was hilarious. But she was like, "No, you have to brush your teeth every day." And I was like, "I gotcha." But yeah, well, but that's probably why I end up getting my damn teeth drilled every few, years or whatever. But, I do my flossing and stuff, but maybe not as well as I should, I guess. But my wife always looks forward to it. I'm like, I don't know how you can look forward to sitting in that cleaning chair. And she's like, "No, it's really fun. I would do cleaning all the time if I could. I'd go in there like once a week." And I'm like, I don't think I'd do that. I don't think I'd enjoy it that much. But anyways, so for people that are in the Discord, right, we've got a lot of stuff for you guys to go look at and to play with and to get involved with if that's something that's interesting to you guys. The Discord has 4,030 people now, so that's kind of cool. We're getting more and more people down in there. What I do want to add is swap them out like disk drives. Yeah. I got my Byte indentures and I got my I got all my different dentures. Yeah, that'd be funny. I think I just added. Let me go look here. So let me try something here. I'm just messing around. Let me put my chat out. Put my chat over here out of the way. Let me say test. Make sure that tests to both of you guys. That should test to both sides right there when I do that chat. Nope, it only went to the one side. So apparently my YouTube's not logged in. Ultron kids are good. I need to come in here. I might have to close this out. Let me save this and close it and then reopen it. So I'm going to reopen my streamer bot. Hold on a second. And then I was going to ask, I don't know if anybody minds being a test guinea pig for me. I don't know if anybody minds being that, but give me 1 second here. I got to get the streamer bot back up. Whenever he turns back on. And I need to make sure that he's going to both. Yeah, he's going to YouTube. Okay. Good. Let's go test here. Want to make sure it goes out to both. And then what I want to do is, I don't know if anybody minds in either of the channels to do an exclamation mark clip, because I'm curious if my little clipping tool is set up. So I set that up, and it should hopefully run my little clip, and then it should set, if it does what I think it's supposed to do, it should clip, and create a clip for right now. I'm hoping that's what it does. It's very possible that it doesn't do anything, it just breaks all over the place, but let's see. Hold on, let me go look at my little content or whatever here. Hold on. Let's see if a little clip popped up for that. June 23rd. Yeah, okay. Looks like it made a little clip. That's cool. All right, so what I was going to ask you guys then, and I'll probably put it down in the little channel thing here at the bottom, is if you guys find something that's interesting, something that is, useful to you or that you think would be useful for other people, feel free to do that exclamation mark clip. I'm going to put it at the bottom of this. So let me put this in my co-working ticker. I think this is just my regular ticker. Full. Let me see. Feature request bot should post link to clip once completed. That might be good. The control, I might be able to do that. Control byte. There may be a functionality for that as well. Did that change at the bottom? Let's see. I'm checking to see if who have a goal to get hobbyists into professional Linux. Yep, hold on. I'm watching the little thing scroll across the bottom. Exclamation mark clip to clip useful topics. Oh, okay. To clip. I'm just gonna say topics. To clip topics. Yeah, there you go. So if anybody has clips that they, if we're doing something and you're like, oh, that's kind of interesting, and you want to exclamation mark clip it, or any of that kind of stuff, it should work for you. So what was I doing here? So you might see, some of you guys might not be super familiar with Calendar. I was actually taking this because I was going to use this as a piece of art for our little fourth wall shop. And then I was going to take this and then I was going to put something over the top of it. So I have like GIMP open, which is like the only tool I know. I know there's other tools that I should probably use, but this is the only one that I know. So I have that, and then I was going to put some text over the top of it and turn it into like a little shirt or a hat or something. I don't know. But I've just been messing with stuff like that. Yeah, Control Byte. I think the source code for the streamer bot, I don't know if the source code is public, but I know that I have a lot of functionality. I may be able to post that link. Let me go look at what my tooling will let me do. Where'd that go? Shoot, I lost it. StreamerBot. Let's pull up StreamerBot here a little bit. Let's go look at them. So in those commands, right, in the action cues and commands, when we run clip, and it does clip or clip it or clip that, right? Any of those things, clip it, anything that somebody types, the actions that come from that clip are here, and it just clips. It creates a clip, but I wonder if then we can go look at the action cues and see, I think that's in the default cue, action history. So here's the clip that was made, and it may have the, so here's the, yeah, is featured false, create clip embed, dolphin frog. So we could take that and we could post that back to chat. So yeah, so I could go like this and I could say back here in the actions, right? So clip, create the clip, and then I don't know, we might have to do a, like, there may be like a timing thing where it might be core here with like timer, and then maybe set timer state, and then, no, let's see. Maybe there's a wait. System, no timers. Triggers, signals, no. Logic, yeah. It's under commands. I don't know where it is, but there should be a. Oh, there it is, right there at the top. It's a delay, so we could delay like 30 seconds, right? And then what we can do is we could say, send a message back out to Twitch. So Twitch chat. Send message to channel, and the message would be oh, I don't remember what the, that, I believe the clip by I think it's user, we can check that, is created this link, I don't know, something like this, right? No, that's not a $, that's a, but I don't think that's user. Oh, and by the way, it might have to be by whichever user, so it has to like sanitize the user because it's got the different users, whether they're from Twitch or I might just have user. Okay, yeah, user would be controlled by whether it was from Twitch or whatever, and then we would send it back out to both. So over here in actions, so the Twitch message would show it. And then we could also send it to YouTube, send message to channel as well. And it could be the same one as that. I think this will work. And this is good enough for government work, right? Boom. Preferred account bot or broadcaster, broadcast to all, sure. Well, we'll see. Because it should be able to drop variables in those. All right. I don't know if anybody wants to do an exclamation mark clip for me as well. Tim O'Brien, just got a seat in your university's networking class. Aren't you doing something at the moment? Maybe review the material. It's open source, UIC, CS 438. Totally cool if not, and have a nice day. Yeah, let me take a look at that here in a second. I'm curious if this little clip command will work. I did give it a 30-second timer, so it might not need that 30 seconds, though, so that's possible. Let me go look this up real quick while that's running. Yeah, look at that. The little clip showed up, and then let's go click on it and check the clip. That's kind of cool. All right. There we go. All right. So I guess our little clip tool is good. So that'll clip and then it'll work. I think there's a little bit of a timeout on it, but I don't know for sure. And actually, I might not need that delay. Let's go back in there because I think the clip is created much faster than that. So and also that was only doing 30 milliseconds anyways, so it doesn't really. I guess it doesn't really matter because we only had it set to 30 anyways, which wasn't going to do much. So 30 milliseconds is nothing. So let's just go ahead and remove that sub action. Yeah, we don't care. So create the clip and then send it back over. So then it shows that you guys created those clips on either side. So as long as you, as you found something useful or any of that kind of stuff, that would be good. All right, so let me go find this real quick. UIUC, CS438. It's a communication, networking, okay. All right. So they're going to give you some of the basics up front. Good. Then they're going to talk about tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 ISPs, right? So those are internet service providers, sure. Transcontinental cable layout, gateway between cellular and internet. Yep, there's a lot of stuff touching there and a lot of things that are modularly happening. Layering end-to-end horizontal communication and inspiration from the airline system, arguments in favor against net neutrality. All right, so they're going to have you arguing and looking at net neutrality. Okay, that seems interesting, right? Then you're going to get down into all the devices. Most people start with the devices. You're going to find most of those devices in your Red Book as well for people that are doing that Red Book stuff. Yeah, Tim, I mean, I always would advise getting, experience from the people, but this stuff is going to be in that book. These are going to be in the book. Most of these will be in this, but you'll get good signal information out of some of this, I have to imagine, right? Circuit switching versus packet switching and where the change happened, because we used to do circuit switching back in the day and you had to have, an actual physical circuit between one place and another. And then now the circuit is less important, especially as they got into like virtual circuits inside of switches. And then now everything is packet switching, and it doesn't matter that it follows the same physical or logical circuit the whole way, right? So they'll talk about that, and then they'll break out how a datagram works, which datagram is the main component of IP, right? So when you're talking IP addressing and moving data around, you're talking about datagrams. And what it means to be a virtual circuit. The circuit only exists while you're using the system. Otherwise, it breaks down, and that's much more efficient for us, right? It allows us to do like division multiplexing of the individual circuits, so that's nice. And then they talk about statistical multiplexing. Yeah, so that's all these things are good. Understanding, throughput, good put, and latency, right? What it means to queue or to form a line, what it means to be processing, what is transmit time, what is propagation delay. There's always propagation delay, even in fiber networks with light. As long as something takes some amount of time to get somewhere, there's always a propagation delay. And propagation delay starts to get into some really interesting theories. Like if you have a cable that's broken and you know how fast electricity travels through copper, there are devices, there's many of them, that can determine and detect exactly how far down a broken cable is, right? So there's that kind of stuff, so that's good. Traffic arrival and service rate, properties of queuing, delay, end-to-end, and trace route. So they're going to make you do a bunch of stuff around the networking, right? So that's good. That's all just module 1, huh? So that's a lot of info in the first week. That'd be good. They're going to get you into what a client is, what a server is, what it means to be pure peer-to-peer. Does that really exist? Who knows? Hybrid architectures, overlay networks, social networks. So they're just talking to you about how people use networks. Leader election and probably spanning tree protocol and some of these other. So this is down in switching here. Leader election is how do we pick who is going to be our what we call our not our default bridge, our Not our priority bridge. What the hell's the name of that? Our root bridge. That's what it is. Leader election is like we send information around and we determine who's going to be in charge based on some rules. And then flooding, like when a switch doesn't know what to do with a frame, it will flood it out all the ports until it's built its MAC table. Once it's built its MAC table, then it's going to be a lot more efficient. Broadcast storms and how we avoid those. What is adaptive gossip and how does like Cisco Discovery Protocol work to, and LLDP, which I forget exactly what that means, but it's the like link layer discovery protocol for like who your neighbors are, right? What are index servers and hash tables, and yeah, there's good information here. Process socket server requirements, data loss, bandwidth, and latency. All kinds of information here, probably around traffic shaping and traffic policing, which are two different terms that are super useful for you guys if you're doing that. Then you're going to get into the application layer. So this is, this is the basics of the high level stuff. So layer 7 of the OSI model right here, right? And then they're going to get more into that. So it looks like they've got more stuff. Web and HTTP. So everything that's going across port 80, port 8080, 443, 8443, how the protocol works. Obviously, most things that are returned are static HTML, but HTML is being created on the server, typically on the fly, right? It's not all. It's almost never just a static page, but parts of the page, parts of the elements of the page are static, right? And I'm not a web guy, right? Like I don't build web pages, but I have to understand how web is being served out of my servers, so I do have to keep track of this a little bit, right? What is a request and response and messages and persistent and non-persistent and then cookies? One thing I tell you to go get familiar with for this layer is your error codes, right? Or all your status codes. Go at least have these down in your head, right? Before you go take this. Like know what a 100 response is. We're so used to seeing 200s as good, and 300s you hardly ever see, but you do when you do API calls and stuff. You'll see if there's redirects and stuff. And then these ones are big if you're doing cloud stuff. Was the error on the client side or was the error on my server side? And then who do we blame? Yeah, you need to know your codes. And again, at a high level, you don't need to know like what it is. You guys know about the teapot. I'm never going to respond because I'm a teapot, right? It's like the dumbest one ever, but it's real. It really was written for fun as an April Fool's joke, but that's a real RFC standard right there. I'll never respond because I'm a teapot. But anyways, so yeah, that's good. Understand how cookies work. Cookies are a way for your system to be able to hold on to information. And then if somebody else can read cookies, is there information in there that there shouldn't be? That starts to get into security. Web caching and D benefits. Conditional gets, and then email SMTP, which is simple message transport protocol, and MAP. And then POP, which is post office protocol, and IMAP. And I forget what MAP and IMAP mean, but it's basically message authentication protocol or message protocol or something. I forget. But those are your main protocols for the email, right? And you build a whole career on that. I've stayed far away from email for many reasons. I support servers that email runs on, but I don't like going up there and touching the email if I can avoid it. So if anybody's wondering, if you got in here a little late, over on YouTube, Tim O'Brien asked if I would take a look at this course for his college. It's open source. I'll link it to you guys. You guys can go check it out too. But he said, could I take a look at it? Because I'm a network, I've been a professor for networking for it'll be 17 years in December. I've been teaching networking. So DNS, what does it mean to be root? Man, back when I started, there were only 13 root authority DNS servers, and they were all located in the US. That was in the early 2000s. What is a top-level domain? What are all the domains underneath that? What does it mean to be an authoritative server? And then what is recursive and iteration? What are P2P networks? And then Napster, Nutella, and Kazaa, they're going to tell you about the old ways that we used to do some of that. With peer-to-peer networks, they're probably going to talk about this concept that's actually still around quite a bit. There's still some federation around BitTorrent. And you can do some interesting stuff with BitTorrent if you guys don't know. There's some wild things that still happen there. By the way, also, I set it up so follows now do either do all the Linux, which is our old one, and also Ranger. So hopefully we always hope for a bunch of follows. But if we get follows and you guys see sometimes it's Ranger and sometimes it's the other thing, that's just a little thing I did for fun. So, all right. And then that's module 2, so that's up at application layer. And then it's funny, they go from application layer and they skip presentation and presentation and session layer, which makes sense because really you really just need to know this. And then if you're doing networking, you jump down to layer 4. So look, this is layer 7 and probably a quick nod to like 6 and 5. But then now we're down at layer 4 or this is layer 4 right here, transport layer, right? So just know that you kind of like jump over from this to this. So this is good. Introduction definitions, end-to-end transport, definition of reliability, and then what is connection-oriented versus connectionless services, right? So connection-oriented is all of your TCP, and then that's connection, oriented, and then connectionless is all of your UDP, your datagrams, which are your just launched across the network and can be reassembled later for all anybody knows or cares, right? That's kind of funny. And then what is our bottleneck on bandwidth, and how much do we get through? And then packet pair bottleneck estimation. They're probably going to have you do some equations and test some things, and probably even give you some little projects on it. Oh, looks like there's a video, and this is awesome. This is really awesome that your college does this, and has all this information out here for you. Then they talk about channel error model and packet delay and larger sequence number space and what that means. So a lot of this stuff is going to have you going into a tool like Wireshark, right? This is going to be a little more of a blast than you guys are already seeing on your screen. But then you might come in here and you might look at, maybe this PCAP that we captured a while back. And then now you start to figure out, okay, so he said TCP, and here's my TCP, and then we talked about sequence numbers. And what does it mean to be the relative sequence number to the start of this connection versus the actual sequence number that was randomly generated or randomly seeded as we started this discussion, right? So there's like all this stuff that you can start to pull out of this, but you got to spend time and get in there. Yeah, you got to spend time and really get to know your tools. In fact, one of our guys just found they've got a new Wireshark certification that's out. So people that want to get in there and start to look at Wireshark, there's a new certification out. So some of our guys, I think, might take that. This over on the right is hex. This is in hex. So like 4 is 0, 1, 0, 0 in hex, and then that 0 is 0, 0, 0, 0. That's 0, 0, 0, 0. That's 0, 0, 0, 0. A 3 is a 0, 0, 1, 1, and an F is 1, 1, 1, 1, right? Because all hexadecimal numbers between 0 and F, which is 15, represent 4 digits places, because 4 digits in 0 and 1 binary can represent 16 total states of nature, right? 0 through F, right? 0 through 9, and then the numbers A, B, C, D, E, F. And also, I did say that correctly. They are numbers if you're using them in hexadecimal. The characters themselves that we have grown up to know as the alphabet, right? The alphabet, those are letters in that context, but when you use them in hexadecimal, they are numbers, and that's a very important thing for engineers to remember. You got to treat them as numbers and not strings. All right, anyway, so there's that. You're going to get into continue to go back, selective ACK or selective repeat, true-false conditions on a transmit and receive window. So TX is always transmit and RX is always receive. That's going to be important. Bottleneck and available bandwidth, adapting congestion window, so being able to change that. So they're touching a little bit up at layer 5, right? Connection setup, what does it look like to send a SYN, SYN-ACK, and ACK, which is what used to be the SYN-ACK attack, right? People would make you waste your resources, but TCP requires that for us to talk. What is a slow start, and then congestion avoidance and how you do your retransmits, right? What does it mean if you're having packet drops and timeouts? Benefits of a cumulative acknowledgement, meaning I can acknowledge after multiple things, basically with a sliding window. If we get duplicate acknowledgements, and what does that mean for congestion, and what does it mean to have fast recovery on multiple acknowledgements, right? Those ACKs are acknowledgements. And then changing the congestion window. So even some of this stuff I don't really do much, but that kind of seems kind of interesting. And then the protocol state diagram, fast recovery, continued TCP state diagram. So it looks like they got a lot of good stuff in here. A lot of good stuff around how transmissions occur, and hopefully they're showing you error states, because like you'll learn a good amount about a network if you just like go and play with it. But if you can deal with like real error conditions, you're probably going to learn pretty fast, right? I think that we see something working, and then if you don't ever see an error, then you don't have to troubleshoot any of it. You just go about your day. So, all right. Then they wrap up TCP, and then they keep going through that. So yeah, they got some pretty interesting stuff about what's going on there. And then they drop down to layer 3, right? So layer 3 of the OSI model. Oh wait, this was transport, yeah. And then now network layer, which is layer 3. And they start to get into how routers and IP addressing works, and what the routing algorithms are, and how we know where to send traffic. How does a router know? Well, a router has a routing table. The routing table can be updated by 3 methods and 3 methods only. The 3 methods are something directly connected. I always give that example. Like if you see my little avatar down there, he's holding a book, right? Well, if you told me he wasn't holding a book, I'd be like, well, I'm literally holding a book right there. Like the book is right in my hand. Like I know it's there, and that's 0. That's the most trusted of all the things. And there's 0 to 255 level of trust and administrative distance. Yeah, so what happens is a router can know things because it's connected. Like I know I have a book in my hands right now. Well, if I had a book, my little avatar does. And then from there, right, the next thing would be, well, okay, I have a book in my hands, but what if you told me, well, there's a book across the way? And I say, okay, well, I trust you because you're an administrator, and I trust you at a level of 1. So slightly less than it being in my hand, but I still trust you because you've been a trustworthy administrator, right? So that might be the next part. And then the last one, 2 through 255, as far as trust goes, right, this thing called administrative distance, is how much I trust everything else. All of the routing protocols are 2 to 255. So there's a thing called administrative distance that exists between 0 and 255 as trust levels. 0 is directly connected. 1 is static assignments of routes by administrators. And 2 through 255 are all other levels of trust of routing protocols. There's routing protocols and routed protocols. So that's fun. Routing protocols are just how the routers pass information. And there's mainly 2 types, link state and distance vector. Distance vector tends to be the one that's taught first. It can only deal in hop count. So convergence with it never happens. You never really see the full network. You just track all the hops. And there's always updates every 30 or 60 or 90 seconds by default with RIP. And then it goes, right? And then the link state routing is going to be with this guy Dijkstra's algorithm. A lot of people use this in like their binary trees and stuff like that. That's this common algorithm or whatever. I can never say this guy's name right. But convergence for them is when all network devices see everything else correctly the same, and then traffic ceases to pass in link state routing until there's a change in the topology, right? Real sus that EI grip is more trusted than OSPF. Yeah. So you can actually look at Cisco AD trust, table, and you should be able to look that up and see the Active Directory, right? And you should be able to see described administrative distance. Yeah, I always show this to my students. And these are the trust levels. So again, connected is the most trusted because I'm literally, like my router is literally connected to it, guys. The router trusts that the most. And then a static route is like the admin came in and said, okay, that's a static route. Limitations there are, well, you have to update that every time. That can't dynamically change like all of these ones can. But here's all the other ones that are all the way up to 255, right? And then there's other, things that you can use or whatever. But yeah, I think this looks pretty useful, Tim. I mean, I think this course, if you said, Scott, I have nothing and I need to get some knowledge of this, I think this would be a great place to start. I might even go drop this in our networking thing. There you go, primer for everybody. Excuse me. Keep going down. They talk about internet routing, so probably some stuff with autonomous systems. So anytime we talk about autonomous system, that means a system under one networking admin control or one networking set of engineers control, and then inter-routing and routing protocols like RIP, which is Route Information Protocol, open shortest path first, and hierarchical open shortest path first, right? And open shortest path first is a link state, and RIP is a distance vector, right? So we need to know that. What does my course do differently? I have multiple courses on this stuff with my students. It's not that it does things differently, it just probably looks at this a little differently. My courses deal with making them aware of like the low-level signaling. You might have already had some signaling in there. You may have, Tim. So I mean, it's all just different ways of focusing on the same thing. I only have my students in any one block like eight weeks at a time. But when I do the Cisco networking, so my Cisco networking course, which is a 260 course, that focuses heavily on them doing Cisco. So it's teaching them a lot of this, even though they already know some of it, but then we're making them actually program the stuff into Cisco. So while it's not like focused, my course doesn't focus on, let's say, maybe the individual devices. We assume they kind of know them, but you're going to be programming those devices, so you're going to get like some knowledge of that, I think, out of it. And then they have, so that was routers, IP routing algorithms, all that stuff. And then they get down to data link layer, which is layer 2. Layer 2, guys, most of you probably don't know this, but layer 2 almost got split into 2 layers, the media access control and logical link control. So MAC and LLC. It was almost split because data link really has 2 functions, right? And I think they're going to talk about them here. But introduction to link layer, local reliability and optimization, right? And then end-to-end reliability versus link layer reliability. So we stopped really testing down at link layer reliability. We stopped doing things like X25. X25 was great, but it did individual, like every single frame was like sent back with an acknowledgement. And that is like doubling your overhead right off the bat. Right off the bat. Error detection and correction codes and stuff. John on YouTube said, hey, I passed my LPI Linux Essential State. I'm interested in furthering my Linux skills. What do you suggest I do? Should I go for the LPIC certs or the Red Hat certs? Well, John, I guess it depends where you're feeling weak. I mean, if you want to keep doing Linux, I think, if you want to keep doing Linux, like technical knowledge, I think the Red Hat certs are great. I think the LPIC ones, if you're already familiar with those, are great. We have free courses up in the Discord that you can do. They are focused on they are focused on technical Linux, but they're also heavily focused for you guys on, so they're down here and then the videos are here. They're focused on like Linux as a systems administrator. So in this, I still make you do basic Linux components and stuff, but this is much more like how the work is going to come in and how you're going to interact with the business once you get in there and that kind of stuff. And then this security engineering course is still doing Linux, but it's doing it through the focus of like securing Linux and deploying that into a company, right? And these are both free, so you could do those. You can at least go look at them here. Like this is just looking at it. This is what they are right here. This is what I make you do in there. And again, anybody can do the labs and stuff like that. It's free. Medium access. Yeah, so how do we get control of the medium or multiple media? And then time division, multiple access, and frequency division, multiple access. And then past TDMA. And so frequency division and then time division. So frequency division is the lowest. Time division is the next. Wait. Time division is the simplest, and then frequency division, and then code division, multiple access. And I actually have some slides that show that kind of stuff. And then how does carrier sense multiple access with collision detection versus carrier sense multiple access with collision avoidance work? So CSMA/CD, which is this right here, deals with everything is touching the same line. And when we say they're touching the same line and they're the same circuit, I always tell people it's the same thing if you've ever walked in the classroom and you've turned the light on, and when you turn that one switch on, 20 lights in the classroom turn on. That is how CSMA CD works, in that they're all on the same circuit. So let's say one of those lights wanted to transmit some data. Let's say that was now a network circuit. Well, with carrier sense multiple access with collision detection, what they do is they all sit there and listen on the line. It's like they all have the toe in the water, but only one person can jump in the pool at a time. Well, what happens is if you don't notice anybody talking on the line, you can just start transmitting at any time. So if anybody detects a collision anywhere in there, though, so somebody hears two splashes, as it were, then what you would do is you would send all ones across the line to jam the signal. Everybody would back off with an exponential back off timer that's seated differently between each host. And then after the back off timer, anybody that is not detecting anything in the line, any transmission going on, can try to transmit, right? And that continues. And CSMA/CD is really excellent up until you get about 60% of your utilization. Once you get over about 60%, it crashes all over the place, and you start to get a massive drop off of bandwidth, and collisions occur and that kind of stuff. And I always liken that to, hey, do you think at 2 a.m., if you were in like a big city, like I'm in Phoenix, that's a pretty big city. And if I was, we got rid of hubs, so we don't really deal with this anymore, but it's still there because of collision avoidance that we learned for some other reason. But hold on real quick. So collision detection, I tell people, like, let's say you lived in a big city like Phoenix or like Dallas or something. And do you think if you drove around at 100 miles an hour at like 2 a.m. that you wouldn't get in any accidents if you just blew through lights and stuff and just drove around? You'd maybe make it. It would be a bad situation, but 2 a.m., 100 miles an hour, you might do that for a while. But what if you did that at 5 p.m. in the afternoon? Oh, yeah, that's going to be a big old mess, right? There's going to be some people dead. So CSMA, that's the same idea that, like, when the line is under 60% utilization, this is great. But as we go bigger and as we have more and more traffic that are trying to get on the line, we're going to have more problems. Now, the reason I hammer CSMA/CD, even though it doesn't really matter anymore, even though we have no hubs, so that doesn't really ever come up, is that in wireless networks, we use carrier sense multiple access with collision avoidance. So we do almost the same thing where everybody sits around and goes, well, nobody's broadcasting right now. I should be allowed to broadcast. Well, I'll go ask the main station if I can get a little token and it'll let me talk for a little bit. So it's carrier sense multiple access, but with collision avoidance by checking out a time slot to talk next, right? And with that, we don't ever get to that higher saturation. However, we have more overhead up front. So, but in wireless signals and wireless systems, we would prefer not to have collisions and backoffs. That would not work great in wireless systems. So anyways, there's that. Exponential backoff and then contention window. Contention window is whoever sees the contention just broadcasts one onto the line until everybody backs off. Taking turns, which is polling and token passing. So we used to have token ring and we used to have polling. So the reason these are slow is let's think about this for a second. Carrier sense multiple access with collision avoidance. We're all sitting there with our toes in the water. And if I don't sense anybody in the pool, I can jump in the pool for 15 seconds, have fun, and I can jump out and I go, oh, that was fun. But with polling, somebody would have to stand at the front of the pool and say, hey, Scott, do you want to jump in the pool for a second? No. Hey, John, do you want to jump in the pool for a few seconds? No. Hey, Tim, do you want to jump in the pool for a few seconds? No. Well, there's time and latency added with that process, right? Because what if I really am jumping up and down to get back in the pool, but now it's not going to come back around until all the polling has taken place for my turn again? So that's one way. Token passing is whoever has the talking stick can talk. If you guys have ever seen those little exercises. But here's the problem. What if somebody loses the token? What if somebody never relinquishes the token or goes offline? So token passing has other problems with like a lost token and who can regenerate a token. And if somebody's talking out of turn because they think they have a good token because they're not listening to the rest of the network and they're just chatting it up, that can cause problems too. So guys, when you think about like, this is the idea that like, anybody here remember the story of Little John? Who's Little John? Does anybody here remember Little John? Who was Little John? He was John Little, right? But who did he fight? Who remembers what he fought and why he fought him? Who was Little John? He had a staff. And then Robin Hood had a staff. and they wanted to cross this bridge, this log, at the same time, right? You guys have heard the story, right? I'm sure it's not really Lil Jon. No, Lil Jon. No, he's not a rapper and a DJ. He's a guy from a story long ago, right? And him and Robin Hood wanted to both cross, and they were in contention for this log. And when we have a signal, and we only have so many, we only have so much access. Again, this is why it's media access control, or MAC. Is how are we fairly giving time slots or collision or polling or token to all of the devices that are sharing that line? In their case, they fought with bow stabs and whatever, and bow stabs. Hold on. Clip that. Oh, this shit's funny. Bow stabs. I said bow stabs. All right, anyways. And then review of carrier sense multiple access with collision detection, and then collision avoidance, right? And then they talk about the different ways that things work and how Ethernet works as higher and higher saturation happens, right? By the way, I think that's funny that I set that clip to go out on both sides. So, yeah, hopefully that'll, hopefully people will make clips of things that they find useful. And then wireless, they come down here and then they talk about collision avoidance and how we go and we check in with the station if we can broadcast, right? What does it mean to do, this is return, request to send and clear to send, which are both part of the operation of CSMA/CA. So when we sense nobody's sending anything, we can ask request to send and then clear to send, and then we can data acknowledge and then send our data, right? And then they get into a little bit with security, where confidentiality and authentication, integrity, and availability. So authentication is added on this to the normal one, but it deals with, are we authorized? So authentication is, are you who you say you are, right? If you guys have ever heard the term multi-factor authentication, it's taking more than one factor of authentication, and the factor could be something you know, something you are, something you have. Have any of you ever tried to log in somewhere and then it immediately told you, oh, I'm texting your phone. Here, give me that 6-digit code. I just texted your phone. Well, what they're doing is they've taken a password that you could know, but maybe somebody stole from you, and also texting your phone that, well, I hope nobody stole that from you as well, and I hope nobody that stole both of those from you have both of those, but it's two factors of authentication, right? Ciphers, cryptography, symmetric and public key. So symmetric means that we have the same key, like kind of like we have a decoder ring on both sides, and they're both going to be the same. And then public key is asymmetric encryption, where if something is encrypted via the public version of a key, it can only be decrypted via the private version. Those kind of things. Talk about the Rivest-Shamir something algorithm. I forget what that is. It's like Rivest-Shamir. It's their names. I can't remember all their names. And then the properties of public and private keys, right? Public keys can be shared everywhere. Private keys are never shown to anybody. And then we can use that to prove, if I were to have your public key that I had downloaded from a certificate authority, some trust entity, and I were to encrypt something that said, "Hey dog, how's it going?" I'd use the right DAWG. That's funny. And I said, "Hey dog, how's it going?" And then you with your private key that only you should have, can decrypt it and send it back to me and say, "Oh yeah, I got your message about, hey dog, how's it going?" And it's going pretty well. And then that would be both an introduction that you are who you say you are, but also I would know that nobody else could have done that. So now there's a thing called non-repudiation. Nobody could ever say that I wasn't talking to you, right? You couldn't even say I wasn't talking to you. And that's this down here with the key distribution and certificate authorities. I always tell you guys, there's a really good book out there. It's the Spiffy, Solving the Bottom Turtle. If you guys are looking for how to get, let's say you're like, "Hey, Scott, I want to learn this a little better." You go jump down here, and probably around page 40 something. Where are we at here? Oh, we're at 107. Get to page like 40 something. I always show the guys this. This is a very good kind of intro to cryptography with like public key, specifically X509 cert. So if you've never done any certificate stuff, here's a quick rundown of how PKI and certificates work, X509 certs. Starts right here at page like 41 right here. So it says, circling back, if you're stuck and you've never seen some digital identity or any of these things, and you want to know what PKI is, this is how it kind of started. So you guys can go look at that. I think that's one of the best places you can spend your time if you want to get good at like some of this networking stuff. And we have week 9 of our security engineering course. We did some stuff with this. Okay. All right. So back over here. Yeah, I think this looks like a very good. Looks like it's only. I'm going to talk about message integrity and how we can ensure that with hashes, right? Hashes ensure that nothing's changed in transmit. And then authentication, a nonce, replay attack, man-in-the-middle attack, spoofing, and how we prevent those. It's good to know how to prevent those with TLS. So TLS helps do all of these things and prevent these things. So, all right, yeah, that looks interesting. Looks like that's probably a good. What do we got going on here? Somebody still talking in here? Okay. But yeah, so we're just kind of hanging out. We're hitting about an hour here right now, and I'm just trying a little bit slightly different format tonight than maybe I normally do. Telling you guys about the group and the things that we kind of do around here. Go look at what else is going on. How's Ranger doing? Is somebody messing with Ranger? I think that's 6 hours, so we have some data points. We zoomed in on this too much, so we didn't have good data points. But what happened to Ranger Cam? Ranger's not on his bed because my wife's friends are downstairs. So Ranger's probably out there trying to look for treats and stuff. So that's Ranger for you, though. What's going on here? Oh yeah, we were drawing stuff yesterday. There's a little bit of stuff there. Yeah, Joe or Tim O'Brien. Hopefully that stuff's useful to you. Hopefully there's good info there for you. Our NIST stuff. We were looking at Malbian a little bit. Some of our other stuff. Okay, we're going to be doing a new version of this our web page as well, because we have possibly new courses coming by the end of this year. It depends. It really depends how interested people are. You know, we have 140 people or so said they were coming to the security one, and we just finished it, and we only had 5 people finish it. So I get it. We're busy. It's whatever, but it's the course is better the more people that are participating, because people can get good answers from each other. They can study and they can bounce ideas off each other. There were good study groups and stuff, but I think the more people that are kind of involved, the more kind of information you're going to hear. Revisualize, Z-Love, Jones, how's it going? We're just we're just hanging out tonight a little bit. Where were we at here? We did some stuff the other night with Killer Coda. We might do some more lab stuff. Probably not right now, though. Control byte. Well, control byte, I think... No. So this, you're probably doing the Linux, or you probably did the Linux admin one last year, right? Yeah. The security engineering one, this was the first time I ran it. This one, I actually just built it as we went. But the Linux one, that one's still going, and I think we only have 3 people still doing that one. So, yeah. But the first Linux admin course, we had 9 people finish it, that officially finished it, and then they got their little certificates or whatever. So, I don't know. I don't even remember everybody's names. We have them all on our webpage though. But yeah, control byte. I'm constantly trying to figure out how to reach. Not like, here's the thing, right? Like I'm trying to give this stuff away, but the thing is, it's not free, because it takes like 10 hours a week of your time, right? So some people can't commit. I know that some people can't commit that. I'm not trying to shame them for that. It's just some people can and just won't, So there's still time. You could catch up on the sysadmin. Yeah, in fact, this week should be week 12, but I'm not going to be here this Saturday. I'm going to be up in Colorado, so I'm not going to run it on Saturday. So you guys have time. Yeah, you have time to catch up, because there's still 3.5, 4 more weeks after that. Yeah. And I don't know if I'm going to run it that week when I'm in, because I actually have 2 weekends that I'm going to be in Mexico. So I don't know if I'm going to run it while I'm down in Mexico either, though. So we'll figure that out. For sure, the one day I'm not going to do it. You said you made it to week 4, but then Net Plus. How did your Net Plus go? You're working in networking, right? So Net Plus was pretty good, I imagine. I'm hoping Net Plus wasn't too bad for you. I've never taken a Net Plus. I got my CCNA, so then when I did like my Net Plus classes in college, I kind of went that way. Wanted to ask, are you Mexican or like I'm white. I'm like French, Irish white. You guys not seen me? Let me see. Hold on. Let me put this up. Hold on. Where's my? I mean, I'm not. I mean, if you guys haven't seen me, I'm like as white as they come. Yeah, jump scare incoming. Yeah. No, I'm just hanging out today. That's why I have the avatar up. I'm just letting the avatar yell at you guys. But no, I'm like Michigan explorers that came in like at the beginning of like when Detroit was founded, white. Like my family's been in Detroit since it was founded. So yeah. So in fact, I'm the first one in my dad's line that was born outside of Detroit. I was born in Phoenix. But yeah, my family's been in Detroit since it was founded. We got a family tree back to the 1500s. So that's kind of wild, huh? Anyways, okay, so what are we back to doing though? So we've got a few things we could do. Let me close down Wireshark. We don't need Wireshark right now. We were looking at that earlier. We don't need Notepad open. That's probably true. Don't need that. But we could do. Let's see. And what do I have it saying? What do I have it saying we're doing? Are they hanging out and talking about Linux? Yeah, we're just talking about Linux. We could do all kinds of stuff in Linux. We can just reconnect to screen and look at what we were doing here. So the other day we were getting into all kinds of things, but what was I going to show you guys here? Hold on a second. Day in the life of sysadmins. Yeah. Well, I'm I'm a heavy platform and like Linux engineer now, but I did start out as a sysadmin. Absolutely. That's where I cut my teeth as a sysadmin. So I definitely teach you guys sysadmin stuff when we're working through it. Let me find. I was gonna show you guys something here, but then it occurs to me I don't remember what I was gonna show you guys. I don't remember what I was about to do. It's like my brain just reset. We could do this. People tend to like this. So this is from the other day. We went and we found actual real jobs on the internet. These are like real dice jobs for Linux sysadmin. And then we were going through and we were just adding our notes on them. So I could, you probably don't need the links for them, but these are up in the Discord as well. But it's so this one was provide day-to-day administration and support for Unix Linux systems. This was something they want you to be able to do. So what does it mean to be able to provide administration and support for Unix Linux systems? It's probably going to be respond to trouble tickets. It's probably going to be maintain or watch and maintain system uptime. So these things, so they'll come in. Responding to trouble tickets are people letting you know via whatever tooling you have. Looking for errors and stuff like that might be you hopping over here and like saying like, oh, hey, why are these two servers here that we're monitoring? Why are AWX and Grafana only 23 days of uptime, whereas all these ones are 65? Did we have some maintenance? Was something going on? Why is this different? And then maybe we got to dig in. Maybe there was some maintenance on just those two systems. But a lot of times this is going to actually look like 0 days or 1 day. And then you're going to be like, well, what happened? Did something get updated? Did something reboot in a data center because it got too hot? Did somebody, did a tool like vMotion move stuff if they were VMs? Like there's all kinds of things that could have happened here. So we might have to go dig in on that, right? So watch and maintain systems. So respond to trouble tickets. I would tell you take ownership of, problems. Make sure that you own problems like they're your own. And we go from there. Hold on real quick. Big Odin said, hello there, everyone. Good night. I have a question about Linux. Never used it, but I have a CD that's from Red Hat Linux 8. If I put it in my PC, will it install it, or do I need a system key? No, you don't need a key to install it. It would install. However, I need you to think about a couple of things before you do that, Big Odin. What would happen is you would be overwriting whatever master boot record, MBR, or I think they might even call them like a MPT or something in Windows. I don't even know what it is, but you would be overwriting that, and you would never ever be able to boot into that Windows machine again for most likely. Would it work though? Absolutely. What I might recommend instead, before you do something that drastic, right? Because you are going to change the topology of that system in a real way if you do that. What you might do instead is maybe, and this is not something I even do, but I'm going to show you it. You might open a tool like Oracle VirtualBox. I don't run this in my home lab, but I do have it on here just to show you guys. So give me a second here. In fact, I don't even know how long this is going to take to open. Yeah, so I'm going to show you guys, like, I would advise doing something like this first and get a tool like Oracle VirtualBox, and then starting that inside of your system, right, and running that without changing your base Windows system to start. That would be my best idea or plan for you. Now, if you're already on some other OS and you're like, screw it, I don't care, sure, do that, but I would tell you do this. And then I would tell you, even before that, if you just wanted to see, like, hey Scott, I want to see if I'm any good at Linux, right? I just want to go play with Linux for a little bit. I might tell you go here and just open up Killer Coda, right? We can go to Killer Coda and I can drop you in a web shell for free right now, and that web shell will be, actually I'll go link one of mine if you want to actually do like one of my environments, one of my labs. Linux labs. I got 36 Linux labs here, and you can just go play around in Linux right here, right? So I'll link this to you guys that want it here. You can go jump into Linux right now, and you don't even have to apply Linux anywhere. You can just start playing right in the bash shell. So here's this. You're a new systems administrator at a company. You've been tasked with finding out information about a set of servers that has little to no documentation. That is one of the most accurate things. Like when I wrote that, I thought to myself, that is one of the most true things I've ever done. This is going to be your life. You're going to move somewhere, and they're going to be like, oh, it's time for you to take over all the servers. No, we don't know what all the servers are. And then they're going to go. You're on Windows 11, never use Linux, but want to because I hear it's more easy than Windows. From Portugal, so sorry if I have bad English. No, that's fine. Yeah, Big Odin, I would tell you, before you make that jump, right, think about what you're giving up. Because when I was in college, I used Ubuntu on the desktop the entire time I was in college. Right, and that was wonderful because I was pretty much a broke college student, and it was fun because I could do all this stuff, but I couldn't game on it. I couldn't game for shit on my computer. And even nowadays, I mean, I hear people say, you can get pretty good with some of. I don't think you're going to be playing any like FPSs on there, right? That kind of stuff. But it's a great place to start. But so if it were 20 years ago, like when I got into Linux. Yeah, somebody would just throw you a disk and tell you to go install it on your system. But those days are kind of gone. You could get in here and you can get on a command prompt right now and just start typing and figuring out what's going on inside of Linux without ever installing it. You could just do it in your browser. And then when you were ready, if you still said, hey, Scott, I want to run it on the command line, I want to run it, I just want to be hua and go as hard into it as I can, sure, you could do that. But I would very much caution you, like, stick with what you know for productivity and then get into it. You'll notice that I jump into Linux here, and then I can get into any of my servers in my environment from here, but I'm just using PuTTY. I could be on anything right here. I happen to be on Windows 11, but I could be on literally anything here as long as I can get into a PuTTY shell or as long as I can do whatever those things are. So yeah, Big Odin, you're definitely welcome. Like I would tell you also to think about joining the Discord if you wanted. Discord is also free. You can hang out there with other engineers and talk shop. In fact, one of our major like kind of contributors that's around a lot, Enzo, is from Brazil, so I know he speaks Portuguese. So if you were to want to speak and hang out and talk with him, Enzo's around quite often. I think I saw him post a couple days ago. He recently moved across country to work in a data center because he wanted to get in the door and start working on this stuff with a bigger company. So I thought that was awesome. I think that's a great thing to aspire to if that's where you want to go. Not everybody wants to go that route, but you know, I tell you guys all the time, getting into tech and listening to people on our server, getting into tech right now is hard. So sometimes, you know, you might have to, I tell you guys, go work at a school district, go work in a network operations center on the third shift. Network operations center's third shift suck, but guess what? You're still in the network operations center, and in 2 or 3 years, you might be able to just jump into a normal role somewhere, right? So I want you guys to get in there and do all this stuff. Oh, it looks like I made it on the clips leaderboard. That's funny. So I'm my own top clipper of my channel, apparently. But I wonder if that's because when other people type clip, it also clips as me. I think that's also kind of true. Wait. By the way, the current user in Discord is invisible, a blank user, so I don't mind a haha if it's a problem. I don't care. You could, if you're in there, you can do whatever you want. As long, I tell guys all the time, you guys do whatever you want in Discord as long as it's not illegal and it doesn't get us closed down. So, yeah. Yeah, no user, but it still has a number for you. And then the bot welcomes everybody in, so you guys are always welcome to hang out, do all that stuff. But yeah, this lab just really walks you through. Killer Coda is, by the way, one of the places I tell you guys to go. Like, Killer Coda has so much good stuff. If you were like, hey, I don't want to hear from that guy Scott ever again, but I really want to work on my LFCS, or I want to work on Grafana, or just generic Linux with some other guy, this Powell guy. He's got good Linux stuff up there that you guys can go play with. So there's a tremendous amount, maybe if I had to guess, like a few hundred hours worth of getting in here and doing stuff at a command line to practice. And it's all free. They've never charged me for anything. I've been on there for 3 or 4 years, and I'm one of their creators. They don't charge me nothing. So I think they're a fantastic tool for you guys to look. If you want to learn Git and you've never done any Git, but you keep seeing Git everywhere, look, he's got 14 lessons right there for you to learn how to use, at least get your hands on it, right? If you go from 0 commands ever run with Git to at least like 30 commands of Git, let's say it's like 30 conservatively. I would feel comfortable putting Git on my resume if I at least knew how to clone stuff and push stuff and do pull requests. I would feel comfortable putting it on my resume, especially if I was like in a Linux admin job, because they don't need much more than that, right? So there you go. All right. So anyways, that's my advice to you guys. Like, those are the tools that I show you guys. And then I also tell you guys, like, if you're trying to get into Linux, right, and you're trying to get into tech in general, there are generic things that are out there that you can do to just, this would be like if you told me, hey, Scott, I want to be, I want to be a, I want to be some kind of combat athlete, but I don't know if I want to be an MMA guy, or I don't know if I want to be a jiu-jitsu guy, right? I do Brazilian jiu-jitsu, or I don't know if I want to be a kickboxer. And I go, well, that's fine, but guess what? You know what you should probably start doing right now is push-ups and sit-ups and squats. And you go, well, but you don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm going to say, well, no, you're right, I don't. But I can guarantee you right now that push-ups and sit-ups and squats will help you in all of those, right? Does that kind of make sense? This idea here of like understanding how to hit an API and what an API is and the life cycle of an API will be tremendously valuable to you, even if you're just a Linux guy like me. I don't write APIs, but I hit them all the time. I have to know what this is, right? Even though I don't directly, 20 years ago when I got into this, I didn't know what an API was. And probably only the last 10 years I've been using them. Chaos engineering, this is all your site reliability engineering stuff. There's free certs out here. These are all free. Every one of these. So if you just needed to like pump up a resume a little bit, here you go. Right? IPv6, right? IPv6 has been rolling out for 20 something years. It's always like coming around the corner. But here it is. There's a certification for free on it if you guys wanted, right? And then there's some data certs and stuff that are free as well if you just want to get involved. So there's Fisherman. Man, Fisherman, your bot is... No, he's actually doing pretty good right now. Your bot's doing all right. Wait, is Ranger back on his bed? No. Again, there's treats downstairs somewhere because there's people here, so he's probably out begging for treats. But Ranger's on his last legs, if you guys don't know. He is definitely getting near old. Also, Fisherman, I got a little command now. If you do !clip, it'll clip whatever I'm talking about. And then hopefully I'll get some good clips and stuff for, people being interested in this stuff. And then I can do something with the clips and, I don't know, carve them down or something like that. I don't know. But we need to get you back streaming again. I know you've been super busy doing stuff, but yeah, so what was I doing? I was kind of in between tasks right now, and I was going to start working on stuff. Yeah, Easy Money. We're going to try to get him through summer, man, but he's just getting old. He's getting older as he goes, He's getting older and older. All right, so let's see. What was I looking at? Yeah, I was starting to look at this stuff. So we were talking about providing day-to-day administration and support for Linux and Windows systems. So you're responding to trouble tickets, you're taking ownership, you're watching and maintaining systems like monitoring, right? So that might be Grafana, that might be Nagios. Some people call that Nagios, I don't know. You might have custom Ansible. Some of you guys know I have stuff that writes out into our Discord if like servers in my environment reboot. If certain servers reboot that shouldn't, it'll always alert us down in our Discord. Some of you guys know that. Wait, Big Odin, what'd you say? I want to change mostly due to breaching, because this week alone I had to factory reset my Windows 11 3 times. Oh, geez. And slightly game. I have some friends that use Linux and they say it's good to game on. Yeah. I've heard, actually, Fisherman that's here, he's one of the guys who probably does the most with Windows Desktop. But I think they've gotten Steam pretty good. And I know Steam got their application to run other games inside of it pretty good for Linux. So because I think their Steam Deck actually works on, pretty sure Steam Deck actually works on Linux, but I'm not 100% sure of that because I don't really play with it that much. But now look at this. They're asking for a very specific tool here, Chef. Right? So, Chef is going to be configuration management. And maybe we would want to go look at something like, could we find Chef open docs? Right? Like, are there docs for Chef? And then I would say, this is how Chef does its automation. Now, I've only ever worked with people that run Chef. I've never run Chef myself. But I've had to make sure that clients were working on systems and stuff. But now there's a Chef workstation and a Chef Automate and there's all this other stuff. And, there's this. And I would say go read to your heart's content for some of you guys that would want this job. I would also say if you can't learn that exact tool, spend time with related tools. So I would tell you, there's no shame in knowing Ansible. There's no shame in knowing Puppet, right? Other tools that are similar. Brotato stole like 4 months of your life. Yeah. Fisherman played a bunch of Brotato. If you guys haven't seen Brotato, it's pretty fun. Pretty fun little time waster. Perform basic scripting and programming in Ruby. Ruby? I remember when Ruby took over from Perl. Back, we used to have these little things where we would do like these little coding problems, and we would try to solve the problem in the smallest amount of code characters possible. And I used to do it with Perl. It would be like sort strings or do whatever, kind of like an early like what people do with LeetCode. Code. But I would do it with Perl, and I remember when Ruby started beating the Perl monks, right? All the guys that were doing it for a long time. So, yeah, Big Odin Fisherman definitely plays on Linux. Actually, he streamed on Linux for a while there too. All right, they want you to support and maintain NAS or SAN storage systems. All right, first thing, do we understand? So the main differences between a NAS and a SAN is NAS occupies the same network as the rest of the traffic. SAN is always its own network for device, so for server to storage device traffic only. There's control and data passed over it only. There's never going to be you going to look for your silly cat videos after lunch across a SAN. The SAN is always the device directly back to high-speed storage, always. That's the only thing that passes that network. That's what the definition of a SAN is. So NAS always occupies the same network as the rest of the traffic, and it just, is frilly and loopy. NASs tend to be run on common protocols like NFS and Samba. And Samba is actually the server message block by Microsoft. In case you didn't know, Microsoft wrote that in the 90s to be able to communicate with Unix-like systems. NFS is a network file system. And you're going to find different flavors of that. EFS is the elastic. That's like AWS specific. And that behaves just like NFS, but with a slightly different client. But it's still like, these are network attached storage because they pass traffic over this. They share traffic with the rest of, DNS and all those, whatever, all those kind of things. Download shortness. What's your opinion of iSCSI? iSCSI is great, especially in like a home lab environment. So you guys know iSCSI allows you to connect block devices over. So what I don't have in my home lab is a good setup for that. So, my home lab system's all busted. Hold on, because I was on my VPN earlier. I have one of my government VPNs locks all my systems. Hold on. Gonna take a second to open. Connect. There we go. All right, let me get these connected real quick, and I'll show you. If I had iSCSI, currently all of my devices have their own storage. So if I were to go look at like this server here and go to his storage, he has 1.4 he's got 1.6 terabytes, and then he's just got one array of 1.6 terabytes. This guy's got 2.7 terabytes and 1.1 terabytes on two different arrays. Then this one has, I think this one has the most, maybe. No, he doesn't have that much, but he has two different, and he's got SSD disks, so he's got fast SSD disks. That's where we do some of our fast networking or fast stuff. And then this guy's got some of the slower stuff, 1.4. Yeah, he's just so I have a fair amount of stuff, but there's nothing shared. But if I had iSCSI, I could share between these devices. I could share storage, like if I had some kind of NAS or other device that had iSCSI capabilities, and these could all connect to it, and then I could start my servers that were out on that NAS, on that iSCSI, on any of my different boxes. So that's why you would normally use iSCSI, is to be able to extend the you'd be able to extend the functionality of your network and then share storage. So now I could have storage off as a back plane and then have all of my machines that just connect into it do whatever they're going to do. So I think iSCSI is great. I think it's good for home labs. I think it's fine to use professionally. I don't use it professionally because I don't. Most of the servers that I work are so big and beefy that they either have stuff all directly in them, or everything's connected over super high speed, 400 gig network links. So they just connect off of that and use everything as like NFS or WEKA mounts. WEKA mounts for as NFS or whatever, That's WEKA, WEKA. It's a storage technology now, right? Yeah, so you need to know the difference between NAS and SAN. And then if you're using a NAS or a SAN, you have to understand, how do we test and how do we know how fast? Are we getting what the vendor told us that we were out of these systems? And what does it mean to have like to the file system throughput versus just the theoretical throughput of the system, and I have a bunch of stuff I made you guys do this week in in the course. So for people that are doing the Linux admin course, is it week 11 this week? Oh no, this is the other one. Hold on. Week 11, I think. I think that's what we're doing this week. No, we're in week 12 this week. I lied to you guys earlier. We're in week 12 this week. So baselines and benchmarks. And then how do we test as we come down? That's all the questions and stuff. Hold on. We get to the lab. And how do we test the speed between the devices? What's the theoretical throughput between any two nodes right here with iPerf? And then what's the actual like disk IO? So there's the speed. And then what's the actual disk speed writes and reads in the file system? We could test those things, right? We just have to know how to use our commands. Once we know how to use our commands, we can start to build. And this was before we made a check. So this was a baseline test. And then we do something and then we get a test after, or a test while the system's under significant load. And then we see how the system behaves differently. So that's what the course was for this week, is how does the system behave? How do we do testing? How do we monitor that stuff? But that all goes back to this support and maintain NAS and storage systems, right? You know, maybe we track throughput and IO. I've got a project right now where I'm like working to figure out how to scrub Luster better, because there's disks that sit in these temp file directories longer than they should. So I want to keep track of that. And we have a method for finding, but it takes 23.5 hours and it takes too long, and sometimes it rolls into the next day and it has to kill itself so that it doesn't waste all of the resources in the environment, right? So yeah, so that's the thing that I'm trying to make more efficient, right? And how we track that and how we do all that stuff. So look, this is implement. This is that same thing I was talking about earlier. So what do we monitor? And this comes down to a whole bunch of theory things, but I would tell you what you need to understand about monitoring heavily falls into, I think we actually did it in one of the earlier weeks, but one of my favorite things to show people, if you didn't know, is there's these free books from Google that are fantastic around site reliability engineering. Like if you told me, hey Scott, Linux is fun, but everything I see that's worth a lot of money is in site reliability engineering, I would tell you, well, there's a lot of good docs out there for how to do site reliability engineering. So what do we monitor, right? How would we monitor systems, right? And then we go in here, you can read it online. You don't have to buy this book at all. Monitoring and alerting right here. And then what do we monitor, right? We want to limit our mean time to detection, and by making that shorter, we can make our mean time to repair shorter. Hold on, I'm going to switch real quick to you guys seeing me real quick. All right, just think about this for a second. If it took you this long to repair something, right? Like let's say, right there, let's say that it's a week to solve a problem in your company. Maybe that's acceptable. It takes a week to solve something. That's your mean time to repair. But what if you were sitting there eating donuts and whatever, and for 6 days you didn't detect that there was a problem, and the solving of the problem only took 1 day, but the mean time to detect it, the average time it takes you guys to get off of your Cheeto finger hands and to do the work, right, is 6 days. Do you see that maybe that's a problem, right? It only takes us and by the way, guys, a lot of times with engineering, it takes me like 5 minutes to fix something. So the fact that it took you guys 3 weeks to bring it to me, motherfucker, right? Like that's going to look really bad on our numbers as our teams and stuff. So anyways, where I'm going with that, I wanted to show you guys that, like, mean time to resolve or repair, mean time to resolve, mean time to repair, is this idea that it's not that bad to take, a week. Maybe a week may be fine, but if your mean time to detect is like 6 days of that, that's a freaking waste, right? So yeah, eating donuts, Cheetos all over your fingers, right? All right, so then graceful degradation, and they just talk about how to track things and how to respond, and then how to deal with self-inflicted attack. You guys are going to take your own stuff down sometimes, right? But by monitoring sometimes, right? So there's all kinds of things to get into. But again, this is one of those things we want to learn from people who have already had the problems. Why learn the painful way, right? There's an old quote. It's one of my favorite quotes. It's experience is the hardest teacher. It gives the test first and the lesson after. And I'll be honest, like experience is a hard teacher. You don't even know what you don't know, and then when you're all done, you don't want to go through that crap again. So a lot of times we learn from somebody else's experience, and that's what those books will help us do or whatever, right? All right. This thing says troubleshoot. Know your troubleshooting methodologies. How do you drive toward a correct answer? Like, what are your methodologies for troubleshooting? Do you do problem definition? And then do you do, proving to yourself that the problem is what the problem is? And then selecting from the best courses to solve the problem, implementing the fix, finding out that things are still broken, and then going back through and doing that again and again until everything works, right? Maybe that's what you do. Maybe you do like I do, and you have a specific way. Maybe we do. Where's my Linux systems engineering? Hold on. Let me just open up a generic PowerPoint here real quick. And do I have my basic systems admin here? I don't. All right, we got to go find it. Here's my general troubleshooting one, right? And get out of here. Get out of here, designer. There we go. All right, and then do we look at this, like this, and do we understand? Get that out of the way. Okay. Do we understand how we troubleshoot, right? We identify a problem, establish a theory of probable cause, test our theories, establish a plan, verify and implement in one. Sometimes this one's broken out. Verify full functionality, and then document our findings. This is a way that we can troubleshoot things, right? It's not the only way. It's a simple way. It's only 6 steps. It will always drive us towards the right answer. If step 5 finds that we do not have full functionality again, we might have to go back to 2 and keep working through these again, right? We also have this one. So this was a 6-step theory. 7-step theory breaks out establishing a plan and implementing. So these are separate. But it's basically the same thing. Look, identify, establish, test, establish, implement, verify, document. Okay. That's a way to troubleshoot things and understand things. Then here's a visualization of that. And I might even come back here and go, this is a good... I like this, right? Maybe I grab this. And I go, this is what I would talk to. I think I can tab these in, yeah. Maybe that's what you would do. Oops. Oh, that's annoying. Yeah, I got to do it. It's gonna bug me. There we go. So those are maybe some steps that we might take, right? And anyways, then there's a whole bunch of other ones, right? We could do any of these. There's a whole bunch of them. I went over these recently with you guys. There's a bunch of ways that we could drive through and find the problem, right? And it's not about knowing 400 of them. It's not about knowing everything about how to do troubleshooting. It's about having 1 or 2 that are good. So 1 or 2 that are going to successfully get to the right answer, get your system solved and moving forward, and then kind of going from there. Look at this. They want you to understand assisting in implementing proactive monitoring and reporting. So this is back to that SRE stuff. Did I save that? No. Yeah, so back to that SRE stuff, right? How do we track things? Learning how to alert out to maybe Discord. Maybe you guys are on Teams. Maybe most of you are probably using Slack at work. I don't know. You may send emails. I think emails become very quickly like a spam thing. So does Slack if you send too many messages. So one of the number one things we try to limit in monitoring is like you can get in and very quickly find out I literally can monitor all of this stuff. I could tell you when that shoe, or I can tell you when that server bends over to tie its shoe 4 times in a minute, right? And that could be really, really useful. But then you turn that into an alert and you send it like 10,000 times in an hour. And Scott, over there getting all of that, just go ahead and mute that channel and I literally never turn it on again. And that's a problem for monitoring, right? Like if you're going to be the boy who cried wolf and you're just going to keep doing that and then laughing when all the town people run out, don't be surprised when something actually does go wrong. You haven't done that. And by the way, you might say, well, how would I do that? Well, there's these things called service. So I have a whole slide deck on this. Let's go. Let's go. Where is this? Let's open that file location. I'll show you guys this one real quick. This is puts this one together a while, but I never actually took this test. I meant to take it and I just never got around to it. But there's this Prometheus stuff, right? There's a certification you guys can go get. And one of the things you want, this right here. So service level indicators are quantitative measures of some aspect of a service, like what's a request latency, what's an error rate, what does it mean to be problematic? And then if we know what the service level indicators are of if a thing's working right or not, we can start to have service level objectives around it. So something less than or greater than an upper or lower bound. And then we can start to send alerts based on service level objectives not being met that are tied directly to service level indicators that let us know that something is not doing the things it should do. Right? So anyways, that's the next part of this. That's this assist in implementing proactive monitoring and reporting mechanisms. Again, we could just alert everything, but alerting everything out of a closed system is not good. Work with other people. This is, go read a book, make friends, and how to make friends and influence people. No, but this is working in tools. Probably you're going to be using Jira. Probably you're going to be doing some agile stuff. Probably you're going to be doing some Kanban boards. Right? Kanban is this idea that, you've got a thing that's in to do or in process or backlog or working, and then when we're done, what does it mean to be done? What does it mean to be implemented? Is something implemented when it's working in dev, or is something implemented when it's up in prod for the first time? Or is it only considered implemented when it's in prod and repeatable through our CI/CD pipeline every time? That's what most of us consider done, right? Fully implemented is I never have to touch that thing again unless there's a change. Unless some change happens where we need to then redeploy an application or something, or reapply something to a server in some kind of breaking way, then I have to go and touch that tool. But that tool is not implemented, or that change to a system is not implemented until it is repeatable, through automation, right? That's for me. That's not all teams. Not all teams are going to care about that stuff. Some teams just want the shit working so they can make some money off it, right? That's how a lot of this stuff works. Required skills and experience. So we got through all the things they want you to be able to do for this Linux sysadmin job. And then we get into solid foundation of Linux and sysadmin. I would tell you, spend time in Linux, right? Get into some books. And the books that I would maybe tell you to spend time in, there's some free ones online. So one that's pretty good is the Linux Documentation Project has some books in here. Some how-to guides and stuff. This is a great, for me, I really like to use this as a reference, right? So TLDP is a pretty good reference. Oh, what the hell was that? I don't even know what that was. Literally don't know what that was that just popped up in my face there. Let's get this crap out of the way. Get into some books, Linux, yeah, TLDP. Um, I think there's some good technical books, maybe from O'Reilly. A lot of times I tell you guys go get into Humble Bundle, right? I think Humble Bundle is one of the best places to spend a little bit of money if you're trying to get some good studying in. I think they have some good book bundles up. And I don't know if they have anything up with Linux right now. I haven't looked at this for a while. Modern backend for web. I don't see anything good right now. Sometimes they have some good stuff. Curious coding, machine learning. Yeah, I don't see anything. They do have some, but a lot of times these are slightly dated. So you got to pay at least 25 for this, but then they try to set you at 30, so you got to set yourself back 25. What do they got here? They got some Security Plus stuff. Sometimes these are a little dated, so it's not always great. You got to go look and make sure they're on the current version of certs, but sometimes they're kind of good. Certified Ethical Hacker for people that want to study that. LPI, I know some people were saying that they had done that recently. A+, never. CCNA study stuff. Yeah, so anyways, I'm a big fan of this. There's no, I guess the LPI is the Linux one, right? Yeah. But I would tell you go spend some time with Linux and Unix. And I would tell you also get involved. Right. Right? I tell you guys all the time, if it's not our organization, if it's not us, find somebody, man. If you go to ProLUG, right? If you go down into our ProLUG and hang out in our Discord for like 5 minutes and you're like, I hate all these people. That's valid, right? Go find somewhere that resonates with you, right? And hang out with the engineers, find how people talk about this stuff. Find how people that are doing this got to where they are and what they think is useful. Because, I mean, if I don't know how many guys I have here right now on Twitch. Probably not as many on YouTube, but on Twitch, if any of the guys here are from the Discord, if you guys remember any good books that have been mentioned lately, I know a lot of times, if somebody asks about a book and like 10 people will be like, do this one, do that one, do that. And I don't always review them all, but I imagine there's some good information in there, They want you to have some hands-on with Chef. Again, there's just, get into Chef. I'm not a big fan of Chef. I think Chef has been dying for a long time, but that's just me. They still use it at their organization, so you need to understand it for them. Get into those Chef docs. That's the only thing I can tell you about that, right? Familiarity with SAN, NAS, storage concepts, and management. So, we can go study this a little bit. So one of the things that I sometimes show you guys here is there's NIST standards. And there's NIST standards for storage infrastructure. And I guys, by the way, I have literally never been in the standard right here. I've been doing storage area networking my whole career. I have literally never went to 800-209, never once, not in my life. But I'm about to show you that if I didn't know anything about this and I wanted to be able to at least talk about it with somebody, I could come here. When was this published? A little dated, but storage area networking is largely unchanged. Abstract tells you about some of these things, talks about where we would use them, talk about some key words. By the way, there's a giant glossary at the end of all of these. So look at all these. Look at all this. These are all the words that you might need to know. All your acronyms is Appendix A that you could go and spend some time with. But let's come up here real quick and let's just read a little bit about what's going on inside of a storage area. What's going on inside of a storage area network? Bunch of stuff up here. We get an introduction. Talks about 3 fundamental building blocks of all IT. Storage infrastructure is its own little beast. And then they start talking about what's going on with storage. They talk about what's in scope, the span of it, the target audience for this, people that want to know more about this, related guidelines to go read about, the organization, and then they get down in here into the location and the storage type as far as how you're accessing it, what type of disks and storage devices are in there, what's a block storage device, and how do we talk to a storage area network. There's just and then there's all these things you could tell somebody, you could at least understand the concepts, right? You might not have built one, but you at least understand how to talk about it a little bit, right? By the way, when you spell fiber for fiber channel over Ethernet, that's a British technology and you must spell it that way. Okay, I don't care if you do or not, but I'm going to tell you the correct way to spell fiber channel is always this way. But if you type out the word fiber and you're like fiber in my network or whatever, that can be F-I-B-E-R. But if you're talking fiber channel, that's always R-E because that's a British technology. Just so that's a fun little one that you might run into. And then there's all these other protocols. I don't even know all these protocols. Some of these are newer than the last time I've been through any of these. I've literally never been in this dock before. But here's network attached storage and network attached storage with server message block, and then network attached storage with multi-protocol, so NFS and CIFS. And these are all these things that you can then go study and work on. We run in my home lab, we run Samba out to the Windows boxes and NFS back to all the Linux boxes. And some of you guys have been here when we've built all that, right? I don't think any of you guys saw me build that, but you guys have seen me drop stuff right out of my Windows box here back into my Samba share, and then it immediately becomes available for all of my devices here. Like I just built one the other day. We were doing like a BSD. We dropped in the console here, and we put in BSD right here, free BSD 14.2, and we built BSD on this box. I think. Can I get in here? Yeah. Right? I don't know much about FreeBSD, but it's Linux at the end of the day. Well, it's probably more Unixy, but the point is it's a thing that's now there and we could go do stuff with it. But when you guys saw me download it, you saw me download it to a Linux or a Windows box. And then from that Windows box, I went here and I dropped it down into my ISOs folder. And my ISOs folder right here very much maps right to here. Look at this. There's my NFS ISOs library right there. Boom. So we can have all these things connected to all these things, right? Guys, this is, I'm not going to try to patronize anyone and say, well, it's simple. It's so simple. No, it's just that it's very attainable for you. You guys just have to spend time. And I built this stuff over time. I didn't build it all overnight. Some stuff I built over like many nights, but so NAS with parallel. So there's all these protocols. Object storage. How do we get into object storage? We always do API calls, right? And then they start to get into that. And then, yeah, so this, I think this would be a fantastic read for some of you. I'll go drop that up in the storage or up in our, probably more in like our high performance compute stuff. So we got different technology stuff here. And I would probably put this more in, this would probably go best in, I can't make new channels. My mods get too mad at me. My mods don't talk or do anything, and then when I make new channels, they get mad. Let's call this, I would say this is mostly, yeah, let's just call this general. Good thing. Right? A little dated, but still good. All right, so anyways, I just want that up there for you guys. Look at all this stuff. Look at all this tasty data for us. All right, anyways, all right. They want you to understand Nagios Asinga. I don't even know what that is. I think I've played with that, but Nagios is, they've got a cert for Nagios still. You can still build it. I still have it running in the home lab. Some of you guys catch it at the bottom of Ranger's page here. Let me refresh this page real quick. I'll show you. There's my Nagios. And oh, look at Ranger. Oh, that dog. Oh, look at him. Oh, all right, we're done. We're just gonna hang out and watch Ranger now. Ranger's way more popular than me, anyways. I think you guys rather hang out with Ranger. Look at him how he puts his head on his little paws like that. He's so lazy. So lazy. Anyways, and then we got Nagios monitoring, or some people call it Nagios. I don't care. And I have like most of my systems down because I've literally pulled all these down over the years and not taken them out. We can go fix all that if we want to. We can pull all these hosts out that don't exist anymore. We could add other hosts in, right? I do it all with Perl. In fact, I bet you if we went to that machine, I haven't been in this machine in probably a long time, I bet. Oh gosh, so old. Opt. What is it? User lib Nagios. I always forget where Nagios is. There it is. I thought it was in Etsy. Whoops. But maybe I put it in here when I first wrote it. What the hell is this? I wrote, it's a Perl script. Yeah, I don't remember. That's all the share stuff. I don't remember where I put it, guys. I went to put it in here. No. So I know I have a populate Perl somewhere. Labs are, where was it, guys? Somebody help me out here. I've already forgotten. User local. So where the hell is it then? If it's not in... Is there a populate in here? I don't see it. So what did I do? Did I delete it? I couldn't have deleted it. That would have been stupid. Why would I have deleted it? Oh, did I put it in? I wouldn't have done it in there. That would have been dumb too. Oh, that's probably what I did. I probably just wrote it in temp being a dummy. I have the script. I have the script still though. But I don't know why I would have put it in temp like an idiot, and that's dumb. Oh, I'll do the worst things if you guys let me. Man, alright, exact load, Perl. Yeah. I definitely did that out of temp like a dummy. Good gosh. You guys gotta stop me sometimes. User local Nagios share. Yeah. Lost a Java heap dump in temp an hour ago. Yeah. Yeah, we don't leave stuff in temp. And then old Unix systems that I originally started on, if you ever wrote anything to var temp and it rebooted, it was gone. Didn't keep anything in var temp. That was volatile memory as far as that was concerned. Yeah, I definitely wrote this. God, I can't believe I wrote that in temp, man. But I think I have it. Where would I have? I know where I wrote it originally. But I don't think it's going to be here. Oh, look at all those other ones. Call that other crap. Just look from everywhere. Nuke the container, prune volumes, and said, "Damn it, yeah, yeah." There's no populate. Yeah. So the populate script, I'd have to rewrite it, but it's like a simple little. All it does is this. I'll show you guys. Oh, cd to user local Nagios Etsy objects. All it does is this right here. So if we look at our lab servers.cfg, see how these are all made as like a template here? My populate script actually comes from this. I can show you guys real quick. Hold on. Let's go unit 12. Go up a couple. Site a Linux group. Here's my Nagios design document. And in my Nagios design document from years ago, that's how I write them. So this is my simple little Perl for my populate. User bin Perl. Start at 0. Well, that's pounded out. And then I go through whatever server list I have, and then I just print out a block. I even check the IP. And once I have everything, I do this print definition to make that, which is exactly what you guys just saw right here. Each block of this that gets printed is in the loop. So here's the loop right here. For each, all the way down to the bottom here. This is the end of the for each right here, right? And all of this block that's getting calculated up here, it's me testing a bunch of things and making sure they're right. And then I block and drop in each of these values here. And that's how these things got populated for all my servers. Now I've changed my lab up quite a bit, so I could add a bunch to this Nagios if I wanted to. And all I would need to do to get that would be a server list. And as long as I had a server list with each name, it would go in here and it would go figure out, specifically right here, where it goes and, where's it at? It does a host on it. I don't see my host. Where the hell's my host at? Ah, yeah, it does a host server, and then it splits out whatever information from the server. So the way a host works, host, let's say I did a host on, if I had Prometheus. Ooh, I don't have any of that crap in here. So maybe if I... So how did I do this originally? I must have had the server name. Yeah, I must have the server name, and then in there I must have populated... so let's see, was there any other thing that I did to check? No. But if it was empty, we skipped it. So that's a skip right there. And then here we did this host server. Yeah. But I don't have any of their info, so I must have had an IP somewhere. Or I might have had IPs. So let's check this. So I might have just had IPs for them. And then I might have used their IPs. I don't remember how I did this originally. Yeah, there we go. And then that would find... Oh, no, that didn't find him. 193. Did that not find him? Oh, you know what? I think I did... Oh, it's maybe possible that I had... I don't remember. I don't remember what happened here. How's it going, Monkey Man and Runamucker? Just kind of hanging out. I never mess with auto discovery in Nagios. No. No. I always wrote these myself from my own lists, and then I just dumped them like that. You guys will find I have a lot of like little one-liner, like not one-liners, but just like little diddles that worked for me for Perl. I used to do a lot of Perl when I was younger. I haven't written Perl professionally for like 10 years now. Yeah, we can't do much with Ruby. You either know Ruby now or you don't. I wouldn't tell people to go learn that now. Strong troubleshooting and analytics skills, you can work on that. right? Practice and understanding issues. There's a thing called Kepner-Trago, which is like a paid-for training, but you can learn on that. There's also some ITIL stuff that might help you with practicing troubleshooting, because they do have kind of like a standardized way of doing that stuff. So, and yeah, so there's that. Ability to work independently in a remote setup with some flexibility. I would tell you, if you struggle with that, Pomodoro timers, right? Touch every project every morning. These are things that'll help you to stay on track and focused, even if you struggle with that kind of stuff, especially if you're like far away from other people. Pradeep said, do I do proper technique like place? I do, yeah, I put my fingers on F and J, yeah. That's, it's just that I take my hands off my keyboard so much that a lot of times you see me mess up. Yeah, but I'm a classically trained pianist as well. I've played piano my whole life, so I used to, when I was younger, have really fast hands. Now, I'd probably be like really struggling to push like 90 anymore, but when I used to play World of Warcraft and that, I used to push about 130 on tests. So I had a pretty fast words per minute when I was younger, but now I just make so many mistakes I don't even know. But yeah, I am a classically trained typist as well. I learned it in school, obviously, as a kid, but no, I do the proper technique. I don't sit with like stiff back at the keyboard or anything like I used to at the piano, but yeah, I played piano since I was a kid. Yeah, Runamucker, I had to buy a new keyboard the other day because my my F and my J, where I put my fingers, the F and J the nubs were too low, so I couldn't really feel them anymore. And then on top of also not being as fast as I normally am. But yeah. But yeah, no, I don't like hunt and peck or anything. I can do it without looking. I just need to have my hands in the right place. So then the next one here was Linux systems engineering, right? And you need to be able to draw some stuff. We can get into these. We were just messing around, kind of looking through some different job descriptions and things that I think that maybe people should look at to get better in this space. And then there's Ranger. Look at Ranger. He's down there. He's got like, I think my wife probably has like 5 or 6 of her friends downstairs. I think someone brought their kids. She's known those women from beauty school since they were like in their teens, right? So she's known them like 30 years. So they still meet up and they go do like putt-putt golf and like whatever. But I'm surprised. I'm saying that because I'm surprised Ranger's laying there. He must be really tired, because normally he'd be over there trying to like get snacks from him and stuff and try to whatever, you know. Also bugs me I have a blind that's obviously broken down there, but who knows when or how that happened. Probably one of these parties with all these kids running around, but what can you do? Right. Yeah, but we could take, by the way, so we could go to Nagios and we could remove these boxes that no longer exist in our lab, and we could clean this up, like these ones that we don't use anymore. We could clean those servers up, and then they wouldn't show up as down in our system. All I'd have to do is take them out of the definition file and then restart it, right? That's all Nagios needs, and that's the kind of thing that you'd want to be able to talk to if you were going to go for one of these interviews, right? I would have, and if I was going to go take one of these roles, I would for sure at least have an answer for everything. If somebody was going to ask me about maintaining comprehensive documentation and what I do, I would say, well, I keep logs of all the stuff that I do inside the system via screen. As I pull out raw notes, I put them into something like OneNote or Notepad++. That's what we're in right now. And then whenever, I'm done with it, I write it to our wiki. And I like to draw things out with like Excalidraw so I know how they work. If we have Visio, we could use Visio. If we have draw.io or some kind of Confluence page, I can draw in there as well. But those are like, my preferred method of drawing is Excalidraw, right? I like to just draw stuff in there. In fact, I have Excalidraw on my VS Code even. So I was making stuff for the site, right? Do all the Linux. That's our to-do list right there. Do all the Linux, something profit. Right? I have some other things to add to this. Like this is kind of like a little joke thing I'm doing, but you can right, start to mess with it. Do whatever you want, right? All right. Anyways, so my point is, if I was looking for work, I would definitely be taking apart anything that I was gonna try to, go for, and make sure that I'm as close to their jobs and their requirements as possible. And like, there's no reason not to send. Like, if you're thinking, hey, I've got most of those skills, but I'm not a master's degree in engineering, I'd send it over anyways, because they're probably hoping for this top level thing, but if they get all the things they want, they're probably going to be okay with that. You're going to do all of that stuff. Easy Money said, what are my tips to learn about platform engineering? I would tell you to just do all of these things we've been talking about. Get into your Linux systems, build Linux systems. With Linux, so platform engineering for me is Linux is the platform, right? Linux is the thing that we try to keep up and stable so that we can run Kubernetes on top, or so that we can run a web server or database server on top. And that what we're running on top of the system is going to change over time, but it's always still a Linux box underneath. So a Linux server has 4 things we care about most of the time, right? It's the CPU, memory, disk, and then network. And we should be able to track those things and see how utilized they are, and see where the errors are, if there's things that are queuing up and waiting and all those kind of things, right? Like, these are all these things we always talk about. We need to understand our tools. So anytime I talk about like monitoring tools, it's always this guy, right? This Brendan Gregg's site is just one of the best places to go to get you started in looking at Linux systems as they're running. But we have to have at least one system up so we can go do these commands on it, right? And then start to understand what they're showing us, and what we can look at and what's going on inside the system, right? So I have my door closed and I can still hear them laughing from downstairs. That's kind of funny. But yeah, that's how I would get into platform engineering, is just start working on it, I kind of came in on a side channel. I was a network engineer to start, right? I did networking. I was heavily involved with Cisco and their firewalls and their wireless access points, and I did all that for a school district. So I got to play with that stuff at like a very extreme scale. Like, you have 36,000 students in a school district, and then another 10,000 teachers or whatever we used to have. Well, that's a lot of connections through a firewall. That's a lot of stuff to track. And then back then when I was at the school district, there were less people on wireless, but still most people had at least some ability to get on Wi-Fi. Not all the phones were connected to Wi-Fi back then yet, but we didn't have guest networks everywhere and stuff. But the point is, like, yeah, that's how I got into it. And then Easy Money, I moved from there into just, I started doing some stuff with Linux, and people were like, oh, well, we need that with Linux and we need that. And I was like, all right, I can do that. And then next thing I knew, I was the Linux guy, because I just kept solving little problems with like this simple little tool that could do everything we needed, And then as I got more into doing it professionally, then I tell you guys, I think, by the way, I think this is an excellent way to start. If the question is how do I start by securing it, right? Learn how to build Linux and secure it, and you will really dig in. If you start using tools, like we use all these tools in here called like the STIG compliance, you will know a lot about how the system is built, because you will understand where the vulnerabilities are in the system, right? Kind of like if you bought a trailer from somebody and the first thing you did was walk around the trailer, you would start to learn like, oh, there's the axle, there's the inside of the back wheel, and there's the braking system. Okay, I see how that works. I see how the lights work, and okay, those lights go up to my, my truck or whatever. And you would start to, by kind of inspecting it and looking at it, I think you get more understanding. That's my thoughts on it, right? But I'm, I think we ran a pretty good course, and I think people learned a lot that were the ones that spent their time with it, So anyways, that's how I would get into platform engineering if I were doing it all over again. If I were doing it all over again, though, I wouldn't get into platform engineering. I would go do something easier. I'm just kidding. I really do enjoy this stuff. I often say and joke around, like, I can't believe they pay us as much as they do for these things. But the thing is, we have to do it. We have to understand it, right? We have to be able to do it. We have to be able to understand it, and then we have to convince somebody else to let us work on their stuff, right? Unless we want to run it all for ourselves, but then we have to have some other purpose. Because I always tell you guys, like, nobody runs Linux servers just to run Linux servers. That's not what they're doing. Nobody's just running, 1,000 Linux servers. I've got 1,000 Linux servers finally. No, like, they're doing it to support whatever's on top of it. So to that end, I always tell you guys, like, we need to make sure our servers are as stable as possible. Part of that stability is security, right? Because security deals with confidentiality, integrity, and availability of systems. So that availability part is I tell you guys, as an operational person, if you're working in an operations team, the number one thing you're going to be judged by is how available those systems are. Number one thing. Then very far down after that will be people complaining about how often you pick up tickets or whatever. I'm sure people will complain, but I'm telling you right now, management cares that those systems are working because the customer-facing stuff is making you money, right? Customer-facing processes that people can just log in and click pay now, that makes your company money. And when that's down, your company doesn't make money. And that's a big deal, right? That's a big thing. I think I tell you guys, when I used to track the NOC at GoDaddy long ago, this was almost 20 years ago now, I was in charge of the NOC, Network Operations Center. And this was, different owner even. It was Bob Parsons still owned it. And I remember he would call me up and be like, hey, are the numbers all good? And I'm like, yep. And I could look down at any time and see how many dollars had been transacted through the web, like through the PCI payment system every 5 minutes. It updated every 5 minutes, and I could see how much money the company was making, and it was a lot. And if that number was ever zero, I was to call somebody, right? Because that's a problem. That number should never be zero, right? For a company. Well, some companies it could be, like, if you're just running like a t-shirt shop or something, I could see that being. But GoDaddy in the early 2000s should never have been at zero. They were very popular. Ever since they did their one Super Bowl commercial, if you guys recall that. Some of you that are younger might not remember that, but basically it had somebody jumping around with her shirt about to break, and she had a huge case of arthritis. If you haven't heard that joke, don't worry about it. It's an old joke. All right, or if you've ever seen the Monty Python and the Holy Grail, the search for the Holy Grail, he said, she's got huge tracts of land. If you're not familiar with that, well, you got to go watch that movie for their joke. But all right, anyways, Z-Love, how's it going? Hopefully this stuff's useful to all of you guys. We're just kind of hanging out right now, not working super hard. What is it, Monday night? My college class is all done. In fact, actually, after tonight, it's all done. Well, I mean, they have till the end of the week to turn stuff in, but it's all done. And then, what else do we have? I'm going to start making a new course on automation for you guys. And then if the guys that have been writing the book want to do another one, we'll end up writing another book like this. And, we'll just see how much energy everybody's got. But we will do, if they want to make another one like this, we'll do ProLUG, probably systems automation. And we'll automate stuff. We'll automate deployment of stuff. We'll automate builds. We'll do all the things that are valuable to us as a systems administrator and engineer around automation. So, excuse me. All right. Well, here's what I'm going to do. We can hang out and keep talking. I'm going to play me some Brotato. If you guys want to hang out, talk shop, keep asking me questions, feel free. I'll sit over here and play me some Brotato for a little bit. When was the last time any of you guys saw Brotato? I'm just kidding. I'll turn this on too. But if you guys have questions about stuff, let me know. And I will try to answer them as I play my game here. Move my microphone out of the way a little bit. Hopefully that's still working. Yeah, microphone's still good. All right. But yeah, if you guys have questions about the system or how systems work, let me know. Just kind of I'm just kind of wasting my time waiting for the wife's friends to all leave. I could go down there and hang out by them, but I'm gonna just hang out in here, do stuff in my office all by myself with you guys. But we want to go get that tree. Oh no, gotta get the tree. Yeah, there we go. Lord Processor, you mentioned we can use your materials. Do you still stand by Lord Processor? You can use those materials however you want. Yeah. Yeah. If you're talking about these courses, yeah. I know people had asked me like, "Hey, can I record myself working through?" Absolutely. Yeah. And if you go like, if you're like, "Hey," I've had people ask me, "Hey, can I go to your, can I go to your killer coda right here, right? This is ProLUG stuff, right?" And they said, "Hey, can I use your Linux lab?" I don't think it was you, Lord Processor. I think it was somebody else. But they said, "Hey, could I record myself like going through your labs?" And I said, "Yeah, I don't care. Do whatever you want." So there's the syllabus for that. Syllabus for this. All this stuff is in the Discord, by the way, too, guys. So it's all over here under beginner start here. So I put the book stuff down here. But yeah, you guys use that however you want. Right? We are making those materials available so that people that are, part of the community and interested in doing this stuff professionally can go and do this stuff professionally. That's the goal. Most of us and most of the guys who have contributed to that already do this stuff professionally, so this is not like where we make our money. We do that through, I do that through engineering and teaching, right? But then I just hang out here with you guys. And I even told the guys, because we did a little thing a while back inside of Discord where I said like getting into streaming, and I showed you guys stuff, and I tried to be as candid as possible and like say like this is a pittance, man. Like what I make streaming is like not even nothing compared to engineering. It's not even in the realm. Not even like most of you would probably go like, why would you even do it? Well, it's because it's fun. It's fun, and I know people can do it. They just need to be shown, and once they're shown, they can go and maybe possibly change their whole career and trajectory, right? Change everything about what you're doing, maybe, in the systems world. So that's the goal. Get people into doing Linux. Make all the friends. I would say FRENS, friends. Not friends. Oh no, I died. I was running too close. I was messing around and I was talking too much. Yeah, FRENS, yeah. Alright, I'm not gonna die. So I was messing around and talking too much. I'll pay attention a little more. We gotta lead them. We gotta lead them away from the tree so that I can get to. Yeah, now the tree gave us a little thing. Oh, Pradeep, that's a hard question, right? Like, I had a foundation in networking, and I thought that I still think that my foundation in networking took me pretty far as like learning other things. So the question is like, start with networking or start with Linux. I would tell you like start with the one that you want to do. Like if you tell me I want to do Linux, right? And maybe you guys have been playing with Linux for a while, that's where I would start. I would go start with Linux. And then I would learn as much networking as I needed to make my Linux stuff successful. Like I would take notes as you go through this stuff. Like there's a lot of, if you guys ever do the book, right? If you ever go in here and actually look at the book, there's a lot of stuff that's like, as you get to like worksheet 1, let's go to like worksheet 1. Like the very first thing it makes you do is here's some definitions that if you don't know what these are, you should go look them up because it's going to make your life easier. And then as you're studying these things, you're going to read more and more about other things that are useful. And I would say the same thing with like networking. If you saw the other day, some of you guys were around, we were talking about the CCNA topics, and I was telling you guys how I just walked my college students through a lot of this. And I was telling my college students, like, this is what you need to be able to do and talk about if you want to go sit for a CCNA. You need to be able to implement these things inside of a Cisco router in some cases, right? So I want you guys to come through, you know, and know all this stuff, right? Well, so my point in saying that is, let's say this, and these are the CCNA topics taken directly off of their site. You could go in there and anything you didn't know, you could go start finding. What's a router? What does Cisco say a router is? There's all kinds of free docs on that. What's a layer 2 and layer 3 switch? And then I could walk through all of this stuff and have a pretty good amount of stuff. Also, man, one of my favorite things to show you guys is you could just go GitHub and then just say CCNA study notes. And I guarantee you 30 dudes have it. Somebody has, this is when he did, whoever this guy is, I don't even know who he is, but he has some CCNA notes, and so does this guy, and so does this guy, and it's when they were doing their notes, whatever notes they made. Here's somebody that did some notes, right? And what did he use? What tools did he use? So you can go start finding out all this stuff, right? You don't have to like blaze your own trail, guys. You can let somebody else have done this as well, and walk you through some of it, you know. So let's go back to the course syllabus. Yeah, there we go. All right, how's Ranger doing? Look at that dog. All right, going back to my video games. All right. Video gaming. That's what we're doing. We're just hanging out. Oh, these notes, I think I put them all up in the Discord the other day, but the notes, are you talking the notes, Lord Processor, are you talking the CCNA notes or the notes that we were just doing today on the Linux engineering stuff? Because the Linux engineering stuff, I did put some of those notes. None of that stuff. It's all garbage. All right, whatever. They're going to make us take terrible things. I'm going to get rid of that one. It's too bright. That one's a little less bright. But pop over here. All right. All right, wave 3. Got to make it to wave 20, guys. That's the goal. And then as far after that as we can. I think the highest I've ever made it with this guy is wave 58. So 20 is the win condition, but I'm pretty sure I've taken this guy much further. Keyboard am I using? I don't know. It's like a mid-range mechanical. It's probably about $30. It's not some high end. We want the attack speed. Excuse me. Want more attack speed. Dangerous bunnies. But yeah, I'm not using some high. That. Mint said, when is the automation course? We would not start any new course until probably at the earliest August, because I'm gonna be out of town most of July. So there will be no course in August. No course until probably like near the end of August if we do another one, and then the automation one will probably be. I'm probably going to be a lot more organized on it. Like I'll have the outline up front, and then I'll probably have most of the stuff built already. So then it'll be kind of like a dump early on, and then we'll go through the stuff each week as we kind of build more and more of it out. So that's kind of like my plan with it. It won't be, the other ones I kind of released as we went because I was still building them all as we went, you know. There we go. Yeah, so when I do that, there's a possibility that we'll do the 10-week security engineering course again. And because the security engineering course is one that I consider to be, while it's not like beginner, like when I say it's not beginner, I mean you need to know some Linux, but it is still considered like what I would say there's no prerequisites for it. Like you don't have to have gone to the Linux admin course to take the security engineering course, if that makes sense. And the reason I did that was, or the reason I set it up like that, was I wanted people to be able to just get right into that and see that they could do this stuff. And then once they saw that, then they could go back and do the Linux admin one if they wanted, you know. So yeah, you let's just say like as a soft part of the schedule, maybe we'll say the security or the automation course will probably start in early September. That will probably be the base schedule for the automation course. And the automation course will heavily align with my Ansible stuff that I already have, but it'll be put down in like a course format, so there'll be a lot more of like you guys will be doing note taking and a lot of like additional project work type stuff. My guy would have died right there if he hadn't dodged, by the way. I got hit by the thing but my character dodged, so I didn't die. Which is funny because I have basically no dodge to speak of, so that's kind of weird. But yeah. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. So we'll just pencil in and say somewhere around September we'll do the automation course, and then somewhere we will either do the security engineering course again, which is the base one, and it's blue team stuff, right? Because it's all defensive. Everything we did in this course was defensive right here. This was all protecting the system, right? This is all sysadmin stuff protecting the system as well, as far as that goes. But this security stuff is all like, security engineering stuff. This is security engineering protecting the system. The next course we're going to run is going to be all the offensive stuff. And that one may start in September as well. Depends on what my college workload is. You guys got to remember, I'm still working on my dissertation. So with my dissertation, I'm probably going to be wanting to write about 20 hours a week. So I will be writing. Actually, I'll be writing on Sunday nights on here. So I'll be doing stuff and hanging out with you guys on here too. So let's get that out of the way. That's too bright. Back over here. All right. We'll take crit. Hold on to that. All right. Let's keep going. Playing video games. Talking Linux. Talking shop. Starting to get some hit points. We got 15 seconds left of the level, so we don't want to die. Number one rule is don't die. A few levels up, that's good. Mint said, I know you're a Linux generalist, but isn't automation kind of what you say your specialty is if you had to? What game is this? This is Brotato. I'm just running around. No, so I would say, like Mint, I would say my career has been, like the hallmark of my career, I guess, in like 20, maybe 23 years of doing mostly Linux, has been my ability to repeat things. And I do think that would be basically due to my ability to do like automation and pipelining. So like I can make the output of one thing go into the input of another, and it's like I tell people, man, it's like I don't want to like reduce this to something that's simpler than it actually is, but to say it this way is the best way I can put it. Basically, I learned early on that I'm good at building Legos, and this shit looks like Legos to me. And I'm not saying that to be like, oh, I'm so smart or something. I'm not that smart. I just figured it out that like whatever tool you give me, if I can plug it into my pipeline, I can do it. And it's not because I'm smart, it's because I know exactly how the tool is going to behave. It would be like if I were a painter, and like when I was younger, I was in construction, right? My uncle was a roofer, and I got into roofing in high school. And it would be like everywhere we went, we set up the exact same way. And if I were a painter, I would set scaffolding up around a building the exact same way every time. And that's how Ansible is. It's like the scaffolding around how you do stuff in systems. So like a big part of like my career has been deploying things over and over again the same way. And like, early on, I never even thought of it as like automation. I just thought of it as like I'm building servers the same way over and over again. Yeah. And like, I mean, even early on when I was building like Kickstart files, because I had a version of a Kickstart file for like the 10 different types of servers I built. And then I just kind of felt like I was cheating off my own homework, I didn't really think about the fact that like in a few years we were going to be putting that into, you know, a tool, and then the tool was just going to push servers out, and then the servers were just going to read our kickstart, or like nowadays with containers, like I just build my little werewolf containers in the home lab. Some of you guys have seen me do that. I build my little werewolf containers and I just stand up a whole bunch of Linux boxes. And in the home lab we have, like, if we go, I'll show you guys this real quick here. Hold on. Where's my terminal here? Pop-up terminal. There we go. If we go over to our werewolf system, right? Of course, my system wants to go slow. If we do www.ctl images, image list, right? Images. What? Image. What's going on here? Oh, because it's in the new one, it's images, so it's container list. So here's all my containers, right? And then www.ctl node list -a. This is going to be way too much info, but I could pipe that down to only look for containers, which is images in the new one. Oh, well, I guess it's images here too. This is why it's super annoying. Grep-I image. What? Oh, this container. There it is. Anyway, so we can see right here in my environment where my labs have been set, where like Rocky, all the Rocky nodes are over here on this old version of a container that I had built. And then I've got my container over here, and like it's just like tools are just easier and easier and easier. Kickstart, it can be Pixie. You could also do NFS HTTP. You can do on the old Kickstart files, yeah. But you could get a Kickstart file by actually you could boot a server and then go pull it without iPixie. You could just go pull it right off of a TFTP server too. Once you were in like a boot disk, yeah. So you could manually kickstart a box. Most people probably haven't ever done that, but in some environments I've been in, that was easier than like going to each physical server. So I would just like, yeah. So there's a bunch of stuff. These do use iPixie. So this has, if you ever do, so this is one of the most interesting things about Werewolf. And by the way, people have asked about a Werewolf course. I'm deploying so much of this stuff in government systems that I do really think people should spend time with Werewolf, right? And I would love to have, if I had, so in my home lab, I could carve this up and do a couple of other Werewolf servers for people, but it would start to get really messy, and I would only do that like for, and I, this is gonna sound messed up, but it's true. I would only do that for the people that have like finished these courses with me already, because it would be a lot of time and effort on my part to tool everything over to that, if that makes sense. But oh yeah, Pessa's stuff is really good, man. His stuff is so good. He should have a baby on the way here soon too. He has officially told me, I think, that I'm allowed to say that now. They've got a baby on the way, so that's awesome. I think me and the wife got to do something for them. But anyways, look at all the stuff that Werewolf's doing. It's got its base port where it does things and listens to things. It does all the DHCP stuff, right? It does all this TFTP stuff, right? And then it does all this NFS stuff because it controls the cluster. It also pushes keys and all this stuff. But the reason I show you guys all that is this. If you cd to like Etsy, let's just cat out Etsy dhcpd.conf. Then you go in here and you look at this, you go, okay, subnet this and the mask and the 50 to 299 is the range, and you go, wait a minute, isn't that exactly what was going on right here? And the answer is yes, because I never do this stuff myself. This stuff right here was actually, this right here is generated by Werewolf. Werewolf wrote this. It even says it up here. So and then I need to get to a newer version of Werewolf because there's cooler, newer things coming out with it. But this one functionally does the right stuff, as in that it puts that range in there, right, of what the nodes are as they boot up and stuff. So, give him his servers back for a baby shower. Yeah. He sold his servers to me. I can't give them back to him. He sold them to me. So now I feel like I have like true ownership of them, right? Pradeep said, "What laptops do I own?" I use a Dell like G15 with an i7 core and 64 gigs of RAM. But then I sit everything off of the front of it. The laptop basically just sits on the docking station, and then I have two big, like, I think these are like 35-inch monitors on either side of it. So I have three monitors that I run in my home lab. There's actually pictures of it up in the Discord. If you guys go to like home lab, people have all kinds of stuff in the home lab. But if you wanted to see my home lab setup, like, because I just moved my monitor, I just moved my office recently, and my office kind of looks like this. Anybody that want to see my lab? There's a good amount of talking going on in there because this was only a few weeks ago. This is this is my, I have a Lazy Susan under here, so I can turn this. But I'll show you guys what that looks like here in a second. This is where the wife likes to hang out. I sit over here. The wife has her own little beanbag chair and stuff. And then this is where I sit. I was watching a terrible movie at the time. But then I can turn this monitor, since it sits on a Lazy Susan, this monitor to the left can turn. Yeah, this is actually super nice. Like, I've got these raised up platforms, right? And then I was building out her stuff over here too, so the wife's got stuff over here. But this is on a Lazy Susan, so it can turn about 180 degrees, this monitor here. And then the wife just sits over here, and then she can watch it. Can't I just chain it? I don't know what do you mean by chain? But anyways, yeah, and then I got the mic over here, and then I got my chair and stuff. And then what's this other one? Oh, this is the wife's setup. She's got one of these big monitors too, and then she's got it raised up. And then I've got some other stuff in here now, and then my cable management's better now too. This was when I was first setting it all up, right? And then I had other stuff up here. Oh, those are our servers, right? I gotta go clean them up. They're all dusty. They sit in the other room, so now I'm in a much cooler room than I used to. And then I think I had people post, guys. There's a lot of good stuff in here, right? A lot of people posting a lot of stuff about servers and what they're building out. I might have some other pictures. People post other stuff they're working on. I think that's awesome, right? Like, that's it. Yeah. There's so much dust, and I know I need to clean that server room out. Yeah. Anyways, so lots of stuff going on. I forget where we were going with that, but yeah, Werewolf is my tool of choice right now for a lot of stuff, and I can make everything the same in there. I can do a lot of really cool stuff with that. So let's take the harvesting for now. Let's take the attack speed. Let's take another ghost staff, and then the shackles are huge. We probably want to try to get a little more speed before we buy them, though. Yeah, screw it. We'll cap our speed out as it is. That's fine. And we are going to take this and that so that we get two of these. So now we've got a 40% chance of cursing things when they... So we're just going to leave all these things right here. See if anything curses. So what I do on my laptop, in case you're wondering, what I do on my laptop, because I think people were asking on both sides, or at least talking about it, is I have a docking station that I use. I use the Dell docking station, and then that allows me to connect over USB-C, and then I can run multiple monitors from I can have two HDMI out, and then two of the DVI out as well. So I can run multiple monitors off it with minimal power or other type considerations. And then I also, you might have noticed here, that I keep my laptop up. So my laptop is up. And this thing has like 4 fans blowing underneath my laptop, cooling it all the time. So my laptop should never have heating problems, although it's got all kinds of other problems that are super annoying. But I do keep my laptop up on this is at an angle, and then this thing blows cold air up on it the whole time. Yeah. And then my little knife collection of knives that people have given me. And got a bunch of stuff over here. So, all right, let's keep playing our game. Oh man, they're having a loud time downstairs. I know you guys probably can't hear them, but they are laughing it up. They're just yucking it up down there. which is good. My wife likes hanging with her friends. She hasn't seen she sees them like once a month, but they've been doing that for like 30 years, so I guess that's kind of fair. Yeah, I have a graphics card in here. It's a GeForce RTX. I don't know. It's whatever came with it because since it's a laptop, right? Like I don't expect it to be some over-the-top card. Let's see if we can curse either of these. We're gonna wait because we've got a chance at cursing those, so we're gonna wait on those weapons. We're gonna hold on to them because if they can curse, cursing is like 10 times, not 10 times. It's probably cursing is probably about 4 times as powerful as not having something cursed. So it very much is in my best interest to save everything. Excuse me. Okay. All right, you got to kill those big whale guys because if you don't kill them, they will put these eggs all over the map, and it's pretty much of a hassle. All right, we got to kill that guy because that guy always has treasure. So you always want to kill them. Yep, you always got to kill them because they always have treasure. This guy we always got to kill because otherwise he puts his eggs everywhere and it's just a mess. No. Alright. Corrupted, no. Attack speed, range. Did something, yeah, something did curse, so that's awesome. So now I have something that hits for 73, but every 7 enemies this kills, it's going to give me another life. Then my lure has also gone up, so that's going to give me 4. Yeah, we're going to hold on to all that. And we're going to try to let all this stuff curse up if we can. And yeah, we'll try to let that thing curse even. See if we can survive. Yeah, we got 43 hit points, so it's not like we burned up all of our hit points on that shop. This character is unique, in case anybody's never seen me play the demon here. He is unique in that he uses his hit points, his maximum health, to buy things. He's the only character that doesn't buy things with money. He can still use money for other things, but he can't use money to buy stuff in the shop. He can use money to switch over the shop, but he can't use money to actually buy stuff. So he uses his hit points for that, which is both good and bad. Like, because you can die on the you can die on the early stages if you're not careful. But we gotta go kill that. Where'd that other guy go? There he is. Gotta kill him too. Yeah. Oh well, we're getting overwhelmed, but we're gonna try to catch up. Yeah, he's like a warlock, kinda. We don't want any of that crap. We want damage. And we got another. Ooh, we got another thing. It's nice. And all those things cursed. That is awesome. So we want to start, since we have a cursed. Get 11% more. That is huge. So we want to start to. We'll hold on to all this stuff for cursing. Yeah, we're gonna let all that. Actually, we're gonna take this so that now we have 2 things. Oh wow, that one's every 6 enemies. That's wild. And then we're gonna hold on to all this to try to let this curse. But we got a boss, so now we got to beat a boss for 1 level. Hopefully, it's one of the bosses we can beat. All the bosses are beatable, but some of the bosses beat me up worse than others. This one is typically one of the more reasonable bosses for me. So what we gotta do is we gotta stay on the outskirts and clear ads, because if you let the ads build up, this guy will kill you. And then you want to stay away from his little red lines. And then gotta just try to burn him down. Jeez. He's almost down. He's almost down. Come on, just die. There, he's down. They always drop, bosses always drop like a red chest, which gives us a tier 4 item, which is the highest tier. So we probably got some kind of really good goodie. You can just survive boss waves. You don't have to kill bosses. But if you don't kill bosses, you don't get their goodies. So that's like a trade-off. I could have bravely ran away from that guy the whole level, and it would have been fine. It would have been fine. I would have went to the next level. But what I wouldn't have gotten was his tasty little treat, which, you know, we then got there for him. Have I ever been in? You probably mean a BJJ, like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu match, where someone felt as predictable as video game. Yeah, the further you go in Jiu-Jitsu, the more predictable matches get. I don't know if everybody here knows that, but Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the further you go, the matches get much more predictable between you and your opponents because all of you know all the stuff. It's just if you can beat them to it, right? So, it's definitely, yeah. I've definitely been in many predictable matches in my time doing jiu-jitsu. Also, next in July, yeah, in July I will have been a black belt for 5 years in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So, black boat? What? Somebody clip that for me. Black boat. I'm gonna have to do it myself. Hold on. Clip. Chess does have the same problem. Yeah, I watch a fair amount of chess. Hikaru on Twitch. If you guys don't follow him, you really should. His stuff's pretty good. Or Hikaru. I don't know how to say his name. I think it's Hikaru. But Hikaru. But he does some good stuff. Black boat. That's funny. Black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But yeah, I've been doing that for a long time. So I haven't gotten to compete at black belt yet, though, because COVID happened right when I first got my brown. And then, or right when I first got my black belt was COVID. So I haven't really competed. I need to get back in shape and compete. So I still train about 4 or 5 times a week, but I haven't been in a match. Just wrestling my buddies at the gym, making friends and trying to strangle each other. That's what we do. All right. Let's get here. Hopefully we cursed our items up. There it goes. Second version's more accurate. Yeah. All right, let's go with, oh man, range damage would be good, but I want attack speed on this guy. And nothing in here that I wanted to cursed. So we're gonna hold up on all this. And hopefully something will curse for us. No, don't want that. Don't want that. Don't want that. Oh, we're wasting so much money. Alright, maybe we'll see if any of these things curse for us. Money is less important to this guy, but it does matter a little bit because at the end of a wave, you get all that money as half your money turns into hit points at a rate of 13-1. So it is good. You do want a lot of money on this character. You don't just want to blow it in the shop re-rolling things, but sometimes you have to re-roll because it's very important to have good items in your shop. So it's a trade-off. Everything's a trade-off. Also, you guys will notice I'm having to pick the money up off the ground. One of my favorite items in the game, you don't have to pick up the stuff off the ground anymore. It just flies to you. So hopefully we'll get that. Let's combine this. Now everything's in some way cursed. Oh, this is awesome. So we'll get 2 attack speed for every living enemy on the screen. That's like one of the best things in the game because the more enemies, the faster I shoot. Don't want none of that crap. I do want that. And we will take, oh yeah, we'll take the celery tea. So next wave, they're going to have 100% more hit points, all the enemies. However, we will get 50% more experience next wave, and we'll get 5% more experience each wave every time going forward forever. So that's kind of huge. Let's see if we can curse these. One more. See if we can curse any of that crap. All right, so now everything's going to be twice as hard to kill. Everything's going to be twice as hard to kill now. For just this one level. Oh man, look how many. That guy had a lot of freaking hits. I'd say like 30 hits to kill that guy. Jeez. because they're cursed walruses. So cursed enemies have twice the hit points of regular enemies, maybe even more. So when they have that little blue glow on them, they're cursed. But the ones that don't have the blue glow are still, you know, the walruses still have a lot of hit points, but they don't have nearly as much. Most everything else on the screen is not a problem. It's really only those cursed walruses that are gonna give me any kind of real problem. And again, the more enemies on the screen, the faster I shoot, which is awesome. Like, just pile them up so I shoot really fast. Huh. We gotta get up there because there's a tree up there. I saw it. I didn't miss it. Jan 28th is still a second pass of ProLUG 60. Mint, that's probably going to be January. We're going to do, I don't know if you were here a little bit ago, Mint, but we're going to do a admin course next probably. And the admin course will probably start in September. So we'll do an admin one, which will not be required. You won't need the other courses to do it. They'll help, but you don't need them. So we'll do one of those, and depending, I'm hoping the guys are still up for it. Hopefully they're not all burned out from making these other two courses. But hopefully these guys are wanting to do, we'll do the Linux automation course, just like we did these two. And then I gotta outline it. I was actually gonna outline it on stream one of these nights. But I gotta turn it into a, we'll probably do that one as like a 16-week course, and then we'll go ham. And I think it'll be good. I think we'll get some good, hopefully get some good stuff in there for you guys. Hopefully you guys feel comfortable, right? Because the goal is to do, and one of the things I had kind of wanted to do, obviously I wanted to focus on the automation piece, but one of the things I was thinking too was it's going to heavily deal with automating the things from these courses. So you got these two courses here, and it's these things. These are things I think is important for an administrator, these things for a security engineer. And then my thoughts are, well, okay, so we'll build the automation course around like, what is automation? How does it work? How does it fit into the enterprise? But with the emphasis on those areas, right? Those things that we do, right? These things that I've kind of tried to tell everybody, these are important to know. And then we kind of prove it by actually going and doing those things. So we want to piggy bank on this guy. It's huge because he keeps so much money. All right, we got another boss. What boss do we got? This guy's probably one of the more reasonable ones. I don't want to say easy because anytime I say easy, they kill me. But he's more reasonable. Whoops. Don't get hit. Don't get hit. All right, he's down. Good, good, good. Now we kill those buddies. Good, good, good. Hit me for like 33. I didn't realize I had 245 hit points. So 33 wasn't that big of a deal. But I'm so used to that guy getting me with something stupid that I didn't want to die one hit. You know. But 35 hit points wasn't that big of a deal in the big scheme of things for how much I got. What's Ranger doing over there? Ranger looks like he's having a good time laying around. It looks like he's fully ignoring people. They must not have any food over there. If they had food, he would be over there by him trying to beg for it. And actually, he doesn't really beg. He just kind of stands around near you and is like, well, surely some of that should fall down for me. Mint, I might bring in. So this will be my commitment to you guys. If I can get somebody in, like from the community that is an expert in one of those things, and I can commit to them working with me on it, or have them build that out, I would definitely do some Helm and some other stuff. Like, I understand Helm. I mean, I got CKAD. I understand Helm. I've deployed it. But I'm by no means an expert at it, guys. Like, I could show you enough to pass a cert, but, like, I'm not doing it every day. If I got, like, one of my guys that I know, like if Peso was like, hey, I'll give you 4 lessons on it or something, and I just outlined what we wanted, and then he did it, I would think that would be fantastic. But I'm not going to, like, he's got a new baby coming, so I don't know how busy he'll be. So I won't commit. Oh, look, everything's gonna fly at me now forever. That's my favorite item in the game right there. Let's take more damage. so now I don't have to chase money down, guys. You'll see the money just fly at me the whole game. It's my favorite item for that reason. Oh, and now we've got an 80% chance to curse everything out here. So we're just gonna hold on. Oh, and that's already cursed. Oh man, we are spoiled now. Let's just take all this crap and see if we can curse all of it. Where was that? I was just about to suggest you strong arm impressive, but yeah, newborn. Yeah, that's always hard. But I have a few other guys that are heavily into automation. I mean, like, depending on how much people want to do in the cloud, we could also focus on that being. Some of you guys know I have 5 AWS certs, and then we have guys in the server that have even more certs than me. So it's very possible that we could be, we could be doing automation with CloudFormation as well. The problem with that always comes down to now everybody has to have an account, and then there's this and there's that, and it starts to just be more and more of a hassle. my goal is always going to be, hey Robodom, my goal is always going to be to keep the course free too. Like I don't want it to be like, all right, well, people don't want to sign up for themselves, so then I run it, and then it's like, well, for me to run it, everybody's got to pay $10 for the course, and then people are like, what, your courses aren't free anymore? And I'm like, well, it's not like I'm making money on it. It's just that we're running the course, So anyways, just to save that problem from happening, I've been kind of staying out of that space. Let's hold on to this and this. And we'll hold on to all these. Yeah. All right, we got a boss. What boss do we got? Robodom, we're doing good here. We're just hanging out. And I was doing some serious stuff a little while ago, but then I got sucked into video gaming. So now the goal is to stay alive and kill the shark. There we go. Beat him. And then really this character is kind of fun now because once you get that Sidif Q's relic or whatever, you don't have to even like go near the money. The money just flies to you. So really I'm just running around, doing whatever I want now. Just staying out of the path of the guys that like to charge me. Everything else is just let the gun shoot. By the way, this is an auto aimer, but you can aim yourself. Like if I really wanted to kill that guy that just had the treasure chest, I can take it off of auto aim and use my mouse. But it's easy to talk and play this with one hand. Like you only need 3. Yeah. Really, I only have 3 fingers playing this, 4 buttons. So this one's interesting. This one's actually a pretty good weapon some of the time, but I'm not going to take it. It just does a lot of damage. We'll take more attack speed. And oh man, everything's cursing. That's awesome. And will this go? If I combine this with something, then I can buy this. And yeah, we've got those ones all cursed. That's ridiculous. Take that curse. I can take that because I already have a cursed one. I'm gonna try to curse this, and we'll try to curse this. Screw it, we'll just curse all this stuff. So yeah, a little bit of planning on stuff, a little bit of thinking about what we're doing in the future as a group. We have a huge thing coming up in August. It was pretty popular last year. We only had just over 1,000 people last year when we did it, and I'd say we had a few hundred people actually come. So this year I'm hoping it's bigger. We'll have a bunch of guest speakers. I'll definitely like let people know more as it's coming up. Like I'll make it like a main focus of what we're doing, and then yeah, get everybody kind of involved. I already have like 10 guest speakers lined up for that, but I'm gonna have more. Like I have an economist coming. I have multiple of our tech guys coming, and it's just people that are doing stuff in the tech space. People that are doing different stuff that's maybe interesting. My brother Tommy sometimes talks to you guys about data analytics. I try to get Pesto to come every year. Actually, I have a list. Yeah, ProLUG conference, yeah. If anybody wants to know the list I have now, this is who I got right now coming. I think it's in conferences. Hold on. Tell you exactly who we got. So I'm going to kick it off with my why engineering talk. Some of you guys have been here for that. My brother Tom, who is in data analytics, and he just got his master's degree the other day in data analytics, but he's been doing it for quite a few years now. We don't have anybody for this time slot yet, but that's also the wrong time slot. And then Salty Catfish is going to do pro framing, which is he's a coder. He's one of our software engineers. As is King Buns. He's a software engineer too. So we're gonna the last two presentations of each night are people. By the way, these times are all wrong. They are both people who have like loosely committed to just staying on all night and hanging out with you guys, right? Then I have somebody. I think I have somebody assigned to this already. And then we have Control Byte's gonna come. Control Byte, if you're around, you're talking. He's going to do DevSecOps without the buzzwords, or operation for developers. So he's going to show you guys operations stuff for people that do development work. And then Sending Grounds, who's one of our resident kind of bash experts. I think he just hit 9 years with a big software engine or a big company. So he's going to do Turtles All the Way, designing the design docs. And I've seen this presentation twice, and it is fantastic. It is fantastic. It is absolutely the standard for what he does. And this is such a good talk that he has given it now. I'm pretty sure, last I heard from him, like over 10,000 engineers he's given this talk to in his company. I might even be low on that. It might be higher. He has given this to, his company has hundreds of thousands of people. It's a very big cloud provider. Right? And his stuff is fantastic. And it talks about the levels of how you build and design things, and it's really good. He does almost everything in Bash, which is also really awesome for people who want to like see how that works, right? What's the overlay not found? Is that trying to get into? Oh, and Robodom, I don't know if I said thanks for the subscription, but thank you for that. Yeah, you're back. Robodom's back doing stuff with the ProLUG. And yeah, Robodom, hopefully you're getting your time to practice in systems as well. I know you also work a different job, but you just got to keep your hands on the keyboard, man. 10-15 minutes a night practicing your Linux, practicing your system stuff. Got to be able to move around in there like you're breathing. Just doing all this stuff. Oh yeah, we're getting pretty good levels up there and stuff. Yeah, Robodom, what are you planning? What are you thinking? I'm gonna hold on to all this stuff for cursing. Try to curse everything. And now we got two bosses, right? There's two bosses here. We got to survive them both. So the first one is almost down. First one's down. And now I always take my time killing the second one because, actually, you know, screw it. We'll just kill him. Because if you kill him, the level blows up. But I really don't care because I want as many hit points as I can. So screw it. I'll just kill everything. Every 6 or 7 enemies I kill gives me an extra hit point, so sure. I'll just do that. We'll let this whole level blow up. Give me a second, Robodom. I will read that. Is my text to speech broken? Looks like it is. Take that, put that up there. Put my stuff back up. Apparently I have I'm on the wrong one of those. Oh, also I even had this open earlier. Also, Robodom, by the way, if you find anything super useful, you can always clip it now too. So exclamation mark clip will clip whatever we're talking about. You're still trying to get into web dev, but start adding more Linux skills as possible. Some AI stuff. Nice, nice, nice. Um, there are, yeah, it's a tough market right now, Robodom. I know you've been looking for a while, but it's just there's a lot of stuff going on. I find a lot of people looking. We have a fair amount of people on the server that talk about different interviews they're having and places that they're working on. I know some people have even gotten work recently, which is awesome. Um, so it's good. People are finding things that are interesting to them, and if they're not interesting to them, at least they're tech or tech adjacent. So now, once you guys get into something that's at least doing tech, you're building time and grade, as it were, right? And then we can start to move over into other things, hopefully. Yeah, we want this Greek fire. It burns and does additional damage to enemies. We'll take that, take that, take that. And now we've got to decide. So that cursed, and we're gonna hold on for that. We can get double exoskeleton, so that's like a massive amount of crit and engineering and speed and armor. So we're gonna take that, and then we'll hold on to all that stuff. We're going to take the scared sausage too, since we've got that fire thing now. And we're going to hold on to all that. Okay. Because everything should still have a good chance at cursing. All right, we got two mini bosses to fight now. That's one of the things after you beat level 20, there's double everything. So mini bosses, we already got one down. Second one down. Too easy. Again, we don't have to go collect anything because everything now will come to us at the end of the stage. The treasure chest will always come to you at the end of the stage, but now like the money like comes to us as well. So that's money and experience, by the way. So very important for us to get that. He said, even though I'm not working in tech, still trying to build up skills. I agree, and you should also be. I know you're working on, portfolio things you can show people that you've done. I know you've got your certs that you've studied for and taken, so that's good. Yeah, that's all super useful. Gonna take that bag. We don't want handcuffs. Take insanity, and we'll take more crit, and everything cursed. So we're taking everything. And we might let these things all try to curse too. We're kind of greeting it a little bit, but since there's an 80% chance to curse, we might as well let everything try to curse. That's a pretty good chance. That, an 80% over and over again. Pretty good chance something's gonna curse. So also, Robodom, I haven't asked anybody yet tonight, but is that music up loud enough for you guys? Can you guys hear that? Not distracting, is it? I know there's a little bit of music coming off the game, but I have like a lo-fi thing from Pretzel Rocks playing. So, only problem with Pretzel Rocks, if you guys don't know, is this. The sometimes I get flagged on YouTube for stuff off of Pretzel Rocks. That's kind of annoying. Hey, Midnight Simon, how's it going? If you guys don't know, I've followed Midnight Simon for, I don't know, better part of 5 years or so. And yeah, there's Ranger too. For you guys that haven't been around, I'm a guy who does Linux. I do a whole bunch of system stuff. So on the YouTube side, you guys are like, probably, what's happening? Well, we just got raided over on Twitch, which means that Simon, who I've hung out with for quite some time, who mostly does leak code and stuff, hopped over here. And for people that haven't been here, we have, a bunch of stuff that's set up where, like, we've got a book on our Linux admin course, which is a 16-week free course. And then we've got our 10-week security engineering course in Linux that we built. So these were built by our guys inside of Killer Coda. Inside Killer Coda. Our guys in Discord built these out. And these are actually, it's actually really cool how these work. These are completely, you could come in here and you can change this in any way you wanted. Like you could say, oh, I want to look at it in navy, or I want to look at it in light mode. It's a little bright. I normally look at it in coal, I think. Excuse me. But then you can come over here and you can publish this book, right? And you can print it out as a little PDF for yourself if you wanted to. And then it would be, I think it's 300 and something pages for this book. But that's the nice thing about it. They're free. You guys can take them, run off, and do whatever you want with them. But then the other thing about this that I like so much is the guys built this inside of a GitHub. So if I go to the professional Linux users group on our GitHub, right? We've got our GitHub in here, and the guys publish out of GitHub, right? This is all markdown for the whole book. And if you guys want to know how that process works, or anybody that's interested in that, you'd have to go ask down in our Discord, or if Treasure is around, Treasure can explain it to you guys. But yeah, they do, so all the guys get in here and they do merge polls and they do issues. They've got all kinds of issues. Like technically I can resolve issues and stuff too, but these are things that people are adding to, in this case, the which one are we on here? Come back here, we're on the system security course book. So this is our security engineering book, right? And they are adding more and more stuff, even more than what we did, which is references and things that you guys can go do and stuff like that to make this stick better, right? So anyways, the point is, this is typically a learning community. We build stuff, we monitor stuff in our home lab. This is all my home lab right here in Prometheus, which some of you guys know Prometheus is like a midpoint as monitoring goes. It's not the end point. This is the end point, right? This is us monitoring all of my home servers that I care about. Here's all the logs. These are all the people that have tried to, hold on, let's go to failed, right? These are all the people in the last, let's go 6 hours. In the last 6 hours, these are all the people that have failed out of trying to log into my server that's out in the system forever. We built this as a bastion node, so the node allows people to connect in to all of the back end, but they have to understand how to log in and how to pass through, right? So if you wanted to see that, if somebody's like, oh, can you show that to me? Yeah, I go over here, I jump in, and I SSH to like streamer 1. No, what is it? I think it's streamer 1 at, we'll just go to him on his own, because he's the box that it all comes off the internet on, right? And then I gotta go find his password, because I literally don't remember his password. Hold on a second. The password we give out in the course, right? I don't share it on stream. Streamer 1, yeah. Right? Drop password, boom, and then it says pick a node, and if you don't pick a node, you get kicked out forever. Well, you get kicked out for that time because you're in a bastion. You can't break out of this. If you try to break out, since you're in a chroot jail, you get kicked out anyways. Right, so I go do it again, and I'm like, what is going on here? And then I go into like Rocky Node 3. So I hit Rocky Node 3, boom, drops me in there. Who am I? I'm root, ID, host name, cat, Etsy, right? See what kind of box I'm on. And then for me, that's all just a bunch of infrastructure stuff over here that are all these Rocky nodes that are virtual machines that are built under Werewolf, right? So if we took Rocky 3 right here, if you guys don't know what Werewolf is, it's just a tool for maintaining clusters. So watch this real quick. I'm going to go to the console of Rocky 3, and I see him all happy, and then I say reboot. And when he reboots and comes up over here, he's going to grab information as he boots up. He doesn't know who he is. He's a stateless node. And when he comes up live, he's going to iPixie boot and pull a container image from Werewolf, and he's going to build himself as a full new box. He has no memory of this place. He's like Gandalf going, oh, I have no memory of this place. So he's going to boot up right here. He's going to find out that he's Rocky 3 based on the cluster's knowledge of who he is based on his MAC address. He's going to pull a container down. He's going to pull his init RAM FS and his kernel. Those are the two things you need to boot a Linux box. You see over here him pulling that information. And then when that system's up, it's going to be a clean, brand new system, exactly like it was before somebody did a reboot on him, right? and he's going to be exactly the same node, and I can go pop right back into him. So it's like a nice way for me to run labs for everybody, because then now I can have, you know, all these Rocky boxes, and all the Hammer boxes are the security engineering course. Oh, Hammer 10's down. I gotta go fix that. But we can watch him boot up. We can see him use his SE Linux and his relabel and all that kind of stuff. All this fun stuff that we can do as Linux people. But I have it all automated so that then I can just kind of hang out and talk to you guys while that system that's literally building. It's coming up clean, and then, you know, the user that rebooted it can go back in and be back in his clean environment all over again. Hold on, let me make sure I have the right thing saved in my paste buffer here. SE Linux. So there's two things, without getting into a full werewolf class on you. When the werewolf node comes up, there's two things that run. One is called the container overlay. There's the runtime overlay and the system overlay. System overlays come up as the system first boots, and it configures it all here. And then the runtime overlays run every 10 minutes in my cluster and keep the systems all aligned. You know, users and host files and all these things get pushed to all the nodes every time in the cluster, so that everything in the cluster sees the network the same way. It's kind of like a convergence in the networking world, right? So this is where we're at. And also, Simon, if you're still around, I know it's late for you, but I do appreciate you raiding. I can't believe you made it all the way till midnight, but hopefully you guys go get some food or whatever you do. I know on the East Coast, you guys stay up way later than we do on the West Coast. But watch, this box is almost completely back up. He is up, so I can go here. I can drop back in. I'm being put into a bastion. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, something happened. I don't have the right paste buffer. Give me a second. Oh no. Get everything out of there. There we go. Alright, that should let me in. Oh no. Don't get yourself kicked out forever. I shouldn't be able to kick myself. What is going on here? I feel like I'm losing my mind. Anyways, I should be able to get in there. I probably locked myself out. I'll go fail the ban. Probably has a. Let's see. Where is it? Yeah. Here we go. grep-I. Oh, actually, grep 127. Better not be in there. I can't imagine fail the ban would actually ban 127.0.0.1. Yeah. So I don't know why I can't. I swear I didn't change this thing any. Okay. Control C. Right click. Enter. Right click. Enter. Alright, I'm going to try to type it. Alright, that's weird. Takes it immediately when I do it that way. Alright, so now we're back in that box. It's like all the things are normal about the server. Everything's back to the same. Right, everything's back the way it should be. So anyways, that's just me messing around and showing you guys stuff. But yeah, so I appreciate any raiders that want to hang out with me, but I am mostly just kind of playing around and talking about what we're going to do in the next version of these, right? The current course is the security course just ended a couple of days ago. The Linux admin course is still running, and that's going to run until we're in week 12, so it's probably going to run until the middle of July or so. And I think this is a great thing that the guys put together, because then, you know, you can go to Unit 1, You can read everything about Unit 1. You can watch the video from when I recorded it. They embedded all the videos. And then you can go and you can do your, assess yourself. Because the very first thing we do when we start to learn something, or if we want to learn something, is we should take an assessment of where we are. Because, if I'm an expert on something, I don't have to spend a lot of time with the basics. I need to spend time probably practicing it and reading other, research on it, and maybe even developing my own methodologies for research and that kind of stuff. But, discussion posts for us are a way for you to communicate with others and see how other people think about these kind of things, and learn in some ways how you learn, right? That's a big part of this, right? So anyways, that's the course. That's the things that we kind of do over there. And then I'm just sitting over here playing Brotato, because I think Brotato's fun. Range damage. Take more. Everything cursed. That's wild. We're going to, are these all, we got a 2 and a 3. So I can take a 2 and a 3. And then I think I have, just this one thing at level 2. Oh wow, that's every 5. That's wild. Alright. Gonna take a black flag. And what's our crit at? 84? We need more. And that's level 2, so we'll let that go. One more. Alright. Power generator, pretty good. We're going to take that, and we'll also let this thing curse up right here as well. Alright. So yeah, that's what we do. We sit around and talk shop and play video games, and sometimes we're serious, sometimes we're not. And the goal of our group is to get stuff into, or get people into doing this stuff professionally. Every one of us here is a hobbyist, right? All of us at least enjoy Linux, but it's also a thing that can be a good career path for some people. So, I try to tell people that they can do it. I claim no great mind or great expertise that that can't be attained by anybody else. I think anybody can do this. I think they just have to spend time with it. Oh, well, there is a caveat to me saying anybody can do this. I think anybody can do this that can stomach it. If you just look, if you go over here and you look at this command line and you're like, oh God, I can't look at that for one more second, then look, I agree. Maybe go do something else. But for people that can stand to sit at a command line literally all day, like I do, I think that look at Ranger. I think that you guys can achieve this. But that would be a good thing. Like I tell people all the time, I'll be dealing with a college student. They'll be in like a 300 level class, and we'll be doing networking, and they'll be like, man, I hate this networking stuff. And I'm like, what do you mean you hate this? This is the job. This is what you're going to do for the next 25, 30 years of your career. Like, if you hate this, like, I wish somebody would have told you sooner that this is the job, right? So, I tell my students that, and then it's like same thing I'm telling you guys. I would rather have come here and found out for free that I hate this stuff. I would hate to be 4 or 5 years into college and find out I hate it. The question was from X Shunya on the YouTube side. Said, when is the next security course going to run? We're probably going to run it in September. So I'll probably run the security course in September when we're doing the automation course. So we'll have the automation course. I'm going to have that much more prepped before I start it. So that really what we're doing will just look like what we do now. We'll have our discussions, we'll have our time that we spend together, and we'll work on stuff, and then we'll go off and we'll build our little automation tools around, again, industry standard tools that we can find and build and all that good stuff. So yeah, I think it'll be good. I've been teaching automation online for many years now, but I'm just going to pull it together and turn it into one course that hopefully gives people a good sense of what they can do professionally, Also, I think, like I was telling you guys earlier, automation and building things have been kind of big hallmarks in my career, like things that I've done a lot of. So, everything cursed. Jeez, that's nice. And there we go. Everything's all the way up. All right. We don't even want this gnome, but he's just so good that we're going to take him. And might as well start taking some crit stuff. Where are we at here? We're going to try to let everything curse if we can. Alright, remember we got 2 bosses, so that's a little bit of a hassle, but we're still killing things and getting good hit points up. Excuse me. Pretty sure all the bosses have been melted, so that's good. We're not doing nearly as much damage as we would like to, so we gotta get our damage up somehow. We're doing okay damage. We're not doing good or great damage, that's for sure. Alright. Extra damage on bosses, awesome. Sure. No. Sure. Never the knot. The knot doesn't allow you to ever update your stuff again, your weapons, and we don't want that. We're already crit capped, so we're going to take more range damage, and we always want more attack speed, so more damage. We're going to hold on to that. This is one of the best items in the game, because look, critical hits deal 10% of an enemy's current health, so that means you're playing, if you're over 100% crit, meaning you always crit, right? You're over 100%, you're going to crit with your weapon. It's going to do an additional 10% of their damage. So you're reeling their damage in at 10% a hit against non-bosses, meaning no enemy in the game ever takes more than 10 hits now, as long as you're always critting. It's a zero-sum game. It's like you're reeling them in every hit, as opposed to, it doesn't matter if an enemy has 300 hit points and you're hitting for 3, because you're reeling them in for another 30, or if they have 3 million hit points, you're still reeling them in for a 10th of their hit points every hit. Does that make sense? I think that probably does. But I'm going to save it because the giant belt becomes 20. Actually, it can be 21 sometimes. So I'm going to hold on to it. And then that's only 5 hits to kill anything in the game. And then bosses would be 2.1, which means only 50 hits on a boss ever, right? That's pretty awesome. We don't want the bloody hand, but we'll take the life steal. And then we'll take the cake and that. And we don't really need those anymore, so we'll go ahead and let that go. And let that go. None of that. So we'll save our money, because money still is kind of useful. This guy. Oh, also I took that thing that I probably shouldn't have, because the ghost gives you 3 more hit points, but he starts you out at 1 hit point. So we're gonna heal slowly, but it's just gonna be really slow. Oh, and we do have a shield on. That's why our life is blue. We can take 1 hit for free, no matter how high the damage of that hit would have been. So we risked a little bit right there that we probably shouldn't have, but yeah, we already beat the game technically. We're just playing into the higher levels for fun. So if anybody's wondering, Brotato ends at round 20. We're playing it on the hardest mode, which is level 5 or difficulty 5. Oh, somebody hit me, but I dodged, I guess. I didn't physically dodge. My character rolled a dodge. It's an important distinction to make. I got hit. But my guy was defended. So I always show that thing up there, the passwords and stuff, to show that we track everything that happens in our environment, right? Like we track literally everybody that comes in. This one only went to 17%. That's fine. It's still free, or it's still free curse, so we'll take it. Scared sausage. We're going to be maxed on scared sausages, I think. Yeah, we got 4 of 4. So now we burn everybody, which is awesome. And we'll hold on to this. And one of this. Oh, we probably should have kept the elemental stuff. Oh, that's fine. All right, let's go just fight another guy. Yeah, Brotato could be Linux under the hood, I guess. We've been talking about Linux while playing Brotato, if that makes anybody feel any better. But no, I've been working a lot, and then I got a lot of travel coming up, so figure I'll get some extra streaming in while the wife's downstairs talking with her old friends. Oh yeah, and you might notice that my hit points are massively going up. It's because these weapons just are machine gunning every 5 or 6 enemies they kill, gives me an extra hit point, an extra max hit point, which is huge. Very big, very big deal. Robe Dom, I'm going up to Colorado Springs to hang out with one of my buddies who's turning 40. And oh yeah, you've met him, Robodom. He's come and talked to us before. He's the economist. He does econometrics. That's what his actual stuff is. And then I'm going to Mexico as well in July. Traveling down for the old Cancun trip that we do every year. We go down there and we do a bunch of jiu-jitsu in Cancun. It's pretty fun. And we hang out, and I think we're going to go to Chichen Itza. Let's see if that showed it up right. Chichen Itza. Hold on. We're going to go here, if you guys have never been there. I've never been here before, but this is where we're going to go when we're down there. Well, on top of many other things we're going to do, but we're going to go see these. Some of you guys may or may not know. I mean, obviously, I'm an engineer and been an engineer a long time. I love architecture. Like, I like really legitimately. Like when my friends post a bunch of pictures on Facebook, I'm not like liking pictures of them and their kids. I'm a big fan of. Clap really loud, or is that in Tulum? I don't know what Tulum is, but there's that. Exunya, HPC will be covered in the. I don't know that I'm ever gonna. So if I ever focus on HPC, it'll be through like the tooling of Werewolf. So it would probably be like the tooling of Werewolf and Slurm. That would be a fun one to do. It's just I don't have. It's hard to. Because Werewolf has to be its own, so you guys know, Werewolf has to play in its own network. So like when I run all of these boxes here off of the one Werewolf node, Werewolf has to be in his own VLAN in my home environment. So he's over in the VLAN, he's VLAN 2. I think that's what I got him in. Let's go look at the networking here. Lab internal is VLAN, so VLAN 1, right, is the lab internal. Now, I would have to carve up and do another one, and it would be VLAN 2, right? And then that would have to be its own. VLAN 2 would have to be its own Werewolf cluster then, and then I would have to build some of these nodes over there in like, so instead lab internal would be like lab internal VLAN 2, I'd probably call it. And then he'd be VLAN 2, and then he would be a subset, like, so Werewolf and like 3 nodes or something over there, right, Shunya? So the problem with that then becomes, let's say I set that up, and I had actually figured out that if I took away all these Rockies down here that people aren't using, and then I took away all of these hammers that people aren't using, I could build like 8 or 9 environments out, right? Well, the thing is, Shunya, we have 130 to 210 people say they're coming. So I allocate as much as I can. But we only have 5 people ever finish a course. So you probably see my problem there, right? I probably don't have to like lay that out anymore for you. It's the idea that like I can allocate stuff all day, but if people aren't going to come and do it, it's just a waste of everybody's time. Not just a waste of my time; it's a waste of everybody's time, right? So I would probably only do it like, and this is going to sound shitty for some people, but it's true. I would probably only do it for people that had completely finished one of the other courses already. So that's a pretty small group of people. And then it would seem like, oh, Scott's playing favorite. I don't like any of you. No, I'm just kidding. But let's say I didn't like any of you. The point is, it would only be people that had done it and really wanted to do it. So, yeah, it's not a matter of liking people, right? It's just a matter of like what resources we have and the constraints that we can work within. And I try to, do as much as I can for as many people as I can, but at some point we have to cut losses and only go for help the people that we can really, that are going to get something out of it, right? And I tell you guys all the time, like, I can't learn any of this stuff for any of you. You guys have to do it. I can just show you what I know and tell you how I think people should learn it. You know, using a specific pedagogy that I use of, like, these are my methods of teaching because I've been a college professor for a long time, and this is how I think people learn, so this is how I teach them. And then, you know, we would go from there. But yeah, hopefully that's not too harsh, but that's kind of the reality of it. I can't run, you know, an unlimited amount of resources. Will Dreadhound, do I have any tips for getting a job? Yeah, I would say at the first level, start getting your hands on the systems. If you already do Linux, I imagine if you're asking me, you're already doing Linux. Then I would start to tell you to study and work on the things that they want you to know. So, like, if you come over here, we were looking earlier at these were different. We were doing like some questions and stuff earlier, but over here we were looking at like some actual real Linux engineering jobs and stuff, right? And without going too much into it, these were real jobs that we found on the internet, right? And if I had a tip for getting a job, it would be go find what people are looking for. They want you to be able to diagnose, resolve issues related to Linux, RHEL, device management during standard business hours. So understanding what devices are in a system and how the network is working and how the system booted up, maybe with a D message, and maybe uptime to see if the system is booted lately. And just those are the things that I would know about that. Then they want you to regularly monitor the performance of Linux systems. Well, you want to be able to monitor the CPU, the memory, the disk, and the network. I like the use methodology, so utilization, saturation, and errors. You need to know how to maybe loop over things and look at some tools. And then there's a bunch of tools like this Brendan Gregg guy. I love to show you guys him. This is one of the best places on the net to get started for like looking at Linux systems, right? Was there a clap on that temple? I don't know, probably. So then over here, right, like external monitoring that you might do, or, you know, whatever monitoring tools they have, can you use them? Can you work through the different tools that these guys have? So what I would start doing is finding what are people typically looking for. They want you to know some server scripting. They want you to know how to perform maintenance and patching and upgrades and backup and all that stuff within a system. And then technical support for users, so taking trouble tickets and working off incidents and that kind of stuff. Everybody wants you to be able to do these things in Linux, right? So then what I would do is I would start figuring out how I'm going to learn those things. We've got our course, which is 100% free up in Discord, and our course will show you the basics of being like a Linux sysadmin. Linux sysadmins need to generically, in my mind, do these things or know these things. And as you're doing these, you know, files and storage and running systems and managing users and turning on firewalls, I've got you doing all kinds of other things in this course, where you're responding to trouble tickets and talking with the admins, and your manager's asking you questions, and there's all these discussion posts in here that you go and you actually do the job of like being an admin, right? So that would be my advice, is like, because I don't really have any other. I mean, my career has been kind of, you know, be as good as I can at what I'm doing, and then people hired me. That was kind of my thing. I also tell people I don't think you need degrees. I have a bunch of degrees, but I don't think you guys need them. I think you guys can do this without them. My younger brother doesn't have any degrees, and he makes really good money doing engineering. He got into it with a company, and he's moved up, and he's a level 6 engineer with them, which is the highest they go before they make him an architect, and they pay him really well to do this stuff. And I think any of you guys can do this. You just have to spend time with it and get your hands on it. So another question to that, Will Dreadhound, would be, you know, how much do you get your hands on Linux now? Is it 15 minutes a day? Is it 30 minutes a day? And when I say hands on Linux, I mean, how much are you directly hands on at the command line like this exclusively? And if you tell me none, I'll say, well, we got to get that number up. And if you say, well, I don't know what to do, then I say, well, then we need to go to a site like Killer Coda. And I don't care what it is in here, but find something that interests you. Do you want to learn Ansible from this guy Scott, whoever this asshole is, right? This guy will try to teach some Ansible. This is me. This is me, by the way. I'm not just calling some guy on the internet an asshole, but I'll try to teach you Ansible, but you got to get in there and do it, right? Um, I do think doing the job is difficult, but I think it's attainable for most of you. I think there's two questions that a company wants to ask in an interview. They want to ask, will you do the job? And then, can you do the job? Will you do the job is easy. I can figure out if you can do the job in a few minutes of talking to you. I start asking you these questions, and the way you answer these are going to direct. I'll know in a few minutes if most people can do the job. And that's not being cocky. I just think most engineers know if another engineer is operating on the same level as them. This is all, by the way, up in our Discord. So my technical questions right here, my troubleshooting questions. How do you troubleshoot things? How do you work through trouble tickets? You know, I'll move this over here if you guys want to look at it while I play video games, right? And then you just start, you know. So yeah, my how do I troubleshoot things? Do I know how to work? What are my operational skills and what have I done in operations? And then personality questions. How would you deal with conflict in an organization? Normally, guys, I only professionally ask these. I am normally only up here doing technical questions. Most people only have pulled me in over the years to do technical questions with people because I know technical stuff. But I wrote these other ones so that we could do some test practice questions and stuff with the other things that I think are valuable. So personality, operations, troubleshooting, and then technical, which technical is like the hallmark of what we do, right? All right, let's go. So hopefully that answers the question a little bit, like what I kind of think is important. Yeah, being good at the craft is important because you got to talk like engineers do. You got to think like engineers do. You got to hang out. I think hanging out with engineers is a big part of this. Just go sit with the engineers in the Discord and you know, and then next thing you know, they're asking you for advice, right? Because they've seen you talk about stuff and seen you work through problems and stuff, right? This is all important. Give me a second. I'll read what you guys are saying here in a second. I just got 8 more seconds of this. 8 more seconds of mind-numbing brotato. All right, what's the question? Our pride and joy. Struggle to get the interview part. I've been at SA for a number of years, having trouble transitioning to a new job though. Yeah, so Will, I mean, you know, you got to find. A lot of guys will put in. When you put in an interview, make sure you tailor it towards what they're asking, or an interview. When you put in a resume, tailor it towards what they're asking for. Show how you fit the bill or similar things. And my advice to people is always on a resume. You put whatever you want on a resume, but you got to be able to talk to it because somebody's going to ask you about it, right? I mean, that's a big thing. So I try to get my resume down to 1 page. That's my advice. Try to get it down under a page or at a page, and then just be ready to talk through what people might ask you about in the interview, right? Try to be ready to talk to anything that they might say or want to know about. All right, we're gonna take all these things. We already got that, so we don't need to do that. All right, it's gonna be 2 bosses and a mini boss. But the mini boss is already dead right there. Good. One of the bosses is dead there. And now the other boss is dead. Almost there. Dead. Alright. So the level's clear, we just need to stand here and clean up. That was the slowest movement. I'm gonna run into that. Oh, my guy dodged it. Been doing 2 pages? Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're mid career, you can do 2. I'll show you guys my cleaned up one if you care, if you want to see it. I think you should lead with what your strengths are. You should lead with what they're asking for. You know, if they don't seem to be emphasizing, like if they say they want a bachelor's degree, but that's not like required, I would not maybe lead with that, right? Hold on a second real quick. Let me take this, take that. We're going to take that for other reasons. And take more dodge. All right. We're going to take this, keep that locked. Oh man, we're going to hold on to these. And we're going to hold on to that. Okay. So let me show you here. Let me pull this up real quick for you guys here real quick. Hold on. Get this out of the way here. I cleaned up. It's called Het Resume Short. Yeah. So this is just my generic like resume for stream, right? This is all accurate information on here. It's just removed. I've removed a bunch of stuff that maybe isn't necessary, right? But if you look at it from a real high level, this is the whole thing. Fits on one page, right? Pretty clean looking for the most part. It's got my name, my generic name on there, some address, 8675309, which is an old song, right? That's actually my GitHub, and that's actually my killer coda. But then also like what I've done in the industry, I lead with my certifications and things that I think matter. And then I lead with my experience of things that I'm currently doing, which actually it's funny, this isn't even true right now. I'm actually working back at Redline again, so this is not true anymore. But I was the platform engineering lead for a long time. But this also has to now fall down here because this is my government contract. This is my HPC one, so this is back up. I moved between those two jobs twice. Long story. Both of them paid me well, so. And then I'm also a college professor at DeVry, but I don't put that on my generic one. And then classes I've taught, if anybody cares about that kind of stuff. There's actually more, but these are the ones that I care to show. And then past work that I've done all the way back to June 9th, because that's important. And then my education. Last thing I show, because I don't care. Like literally, like even when we talk with other engineers, like my education is the furthest thing down. And I'm almost done with my PhD. And I just, it's going to be on here, but I don't care. Like that's not, what's being good at this stuff is like being able to talk to it and build it, right? So this is this. If you need this template, this is up in the Discord too. Like if you want a short little template like this is just how I do it. And then obviously they see it in light mode. I do everything in dark mode on my Word and stuff. So all the older certs, older things that I've done, things that might be interesting to people, and then languages that I feel like I can write if I needed to, and that these are only languages I've written professionally. I won't put anything here that I don't do or haven't done professionally and can show, right? That's it. I try to give numbers when I show things. I try to say how many servers, how many things I did, what the numbers were. Some people call this a SMART, right? Specific, measurable, actionable, something, and time bound, right? SMART goals. If you've ever heard of those, well, you can also write these as SMART goals as well, as far as that goes. So, all right. If you need that, let me know. That's in the that's somewhere. All right, we're gonna have 3 enemies show up now, but three bosses. But I should be able to. Oh, I should be able to murk them pretty soon, I think. Oh man, they're really going for me. All right, they're all down. Good. All right, we have survived. We have lived to tell the tale of another day. How much are they hitting for? I dodged it again. Oh well. All right. And then. 10 more seconds. Can I mostly stand still for 10 seconds? I should be able to. Stand still for 10 seconds. Boom, boom, good. All right. What do you mean by them for the interview? Like only submit 1 page? Yeah, consider a person reading the application gets bored. Yeah. Oh, that's huge. take the engineering too. Yep, take the cape. Alright, we want more range damage. Take that. We want all these things to curse. That is cursed. Don't need any of these things. We're gonna let this first one curse. And we need to start getting our luck up higher. Alright. Next level. I think everything here is going to have more hit points now. Because I think I took a... oh yeah, I did take a thing that doubled all their hit points. So. We'll take it though. That's fine. We'll consider that good. We'll consider that fine. Yeah, so the only reason enemies are staying on the screen is because I gave them extra hit points. But it'll be gone after this level. It's because I did that so I got double XP. So I might even get 2 levels up this level, which is huge. It's good. We want to get multiple levels up in these late levels. It's important. We need to start getting our luck higher because our luck's going to start being a major source of damage here in a second. Yeah, we'll take that, take that, take that, take that, take armor, take damage. Alright. Oh yeah, we're taking everything. Big arms. Look at all that damage. Nice. We don't really want the salt water, but since it's unique, it'll never show up again if we get it. So will this. But we're going to let them curse before we take them. And then... that one's every 5, so let's get rid of one of these ones that's every 7. So we're going to take that one because that's even better. That's an upgrade. We'll let this curse too because we'll take more melee and engineering. Who cares? Or melee. I don't care how you say that word. Get back in the fray. Either way. See what my little thing down. If I say melee. Huh. But if I say melee. Alright, I guess it's melee. That's what my system thinks it is. My wife's in here now too, so her friends must have all left. Huh. Wifey, we're just talking about Linux, and that's what we normally... oh, I forgot you had those over there. Well, the wife has snacks, guys. So now I have red vines. Well, now I will have red vines. Oh, nice. Now I have red vines. I will take the panda. Take the robot arm. Take this. Other things have not. Try to let them curse. Try to let everything curse. Alright. 3 bosses. One's dead. Second one's dead. Third one's dead. Alright. We made it. Yeah, and we haven't done it in a while, but I was doing for a while there. I was running in the ProLUG down on our Discord. I was running interviews for you guys, and then basically giving you 10 minutes in the hot seat, asking you some of those questions, and I was generating new questions every time, so they weren't all repeat questions. And then, you know, letting you guys sit and think, and also you could hear what the other people said, And nobody can be nervous because, well, here's the thing. You're allowed to be nervous. It's just you can't be nervous about people hearing your answers because, 10 people might sit in your interview. So you got to be ready for that. So, we have to be ready to talk in front of people. So it's good practice. I haven't done one of those in a while, though. But we could maybe think about doing one of those again. I think that might be good. We're going to let this thing curse if it will and see if it gets better than any of these ones. So that's going to be our goal. I'll take another robot arm if it curses. But yeah, we've definitely had a fair amount of people over the years get jobs in the Linux world. Sometimes it's networking people directly, in the Discord. Sometimes it's just talking to people and finally finding a good job. And I know actually there's a couple people down there right now that are waiting for responses on, interviews that they've given or whatever. So it's pretty, sometimes it's an overly dour bunch if we're being honest, but sometimes they're actually pretty helpful. So like the people in Discord that are looking for work, they're still typically pretty good about helping other people like with what they think they should be doing. So if you need a good sounding board, that's also a pretty good thing. All right, we'll take burning. We want to burn things, burn more enemies. Take all this. Shoot, we'll take elemental, sure. Take this. This is every 7, so that's not really better than any of these. So we can toss it. That one didn't curse, but that did. We're going to take all that stuff, but we're going to let it curse first. So that extra stomach is a one of the rare items that when you're full on life and you grab life, it gives you extra max hit points. But it can only do it I think it's 10 times per level. But if I let it curse, I think it's 20 times per level. My guy is also getting a massive amount of extra hit points just by killing things. That's why his hit points are so high. So, alright. Killing. That's what we're doing. Don't want those things, don't want that. Extra stomach can give max 14, okay. We'll take that. We'll take it. We'll hold on to all this stuff. Hold on to all this. We'll let all this stuff curse if it will. And then we'll go. Oh yes, the wife's giving me more candy. Alright, we're almost at 4 hours, guys. That's a pretty good long stream. Main thing I would tell you guys, I'll look over at chat here in a second. I know you guys are talking about getting job roles, and I think that's all really good stuff. Best advice I can give you, spend time with the engineers and the people that are out there. So I tell people, if it's not our group, if you don't, find somewhere. We used to have this place out here called Chandler when I was younger. It was like a mental health place, and they used to always say, if you don't get help at Chandler, please get help somewhere. And that's the same thing here. Like, it doesn't have to be us, man. It could be Measure Slack. It could be Measure Camp. Those are awesome things for people that want to do data analytics and that kind of stuff. But, find somewhere where you guys can plug in and hang out with other people with the same type of goals, Again, I prefer it if it was the Linux group, but it doesn't have to be that, So, all right. We'll take that Pearl. We'll take more engineering, sure. More attack speed, more luck. Luck is huge. Luck is a big part of us winning the game now because we're already past the winning condition, but going further on in. All right, I'm missing all this chat. Sorry. I try not to joke around in interviews, just so you guys know, and it's not because I can't tell a good joke, right? I can spin a yarn with the best of them. That's not true, but the reason I don't tell jokes is I don't want people to get. I don't want to say like. I don't want to set people up for failure if that's not going to be a good environment for them with anybody else. So I keep interviews. There's two things about interviews. I always keep them 100% professional. One, and two, the other thing about it, and I've given about 350 interviews in my career, right? Because I'm always the guy that gets pulled in for technical stuff. But the thing about interviewing for me is, it's the only place you're allowed to brag about yourself. There's no other. Show me anywhere else on earth where you're allowed to brag about yourself. You're not. You look like an asshole. Nobody will want to hear you. But in an interview, we insist that you brag about yourself. We insist that you talk up your role and what you did and what you accomplished. But nowhere else are you supposed to do that, right? Anywhere else, that's kind of, kind of bad. But yeah, so that's yeah, on Facebook you can even then you look at people's kind of sideways, like, what the hell are you doing? Shouldn't we be arguing politics? What are you doing talking about yourself? Yeah. So I learned, by the way, I learned very early on as a professor at a college that I will never tell somebody to Google anything. Because students will go, well, Google knows it, but you don't. Nope. I will never tell anybody to Google anything. But if somebody says, hey, do you do have a right answer and I don't, I say no, but I'll definitely read the man pages. I'll definitely look at other implementations that people have done. I'll look through the documentation for anything. And then if not, I'll reach out to the vendor, right? And that's something that I tell people because that is true. I will literally figure out anything within the capabilities of a system that it can do. And if I can't do it, I'll reach out to the vendor because we're paying them. And that's a pretty, guys, that's a pretty mature answer because that's really true, man. Like, that's how literally every one of the principals you've ever met, that's what they do. They go and they look. If they can't figure it out, they call to somebody, they call up to the next hire. There's no shame in not knowing everything. Because, I don't know hardly anything. But the things I know well, and then I know to send them off to somebody else if I don't, right? So, yeah, Google's answers definitely aren't as good as they were 15 years ago. As far as like the weight of them for, yeah. But I never tell students to go Google something because they'll be like, "What? You don't know the answer?" No. I'll give them some esoteric answer like, "Don't you think that you should know the way that the?" No, I'm just kidding. I don't do any of that shit. That's one of the nice things about being an engineering professor is I only care about the engineering side of things. I don't care about literally anything else. I don't care about the philosophical side of things so much. All right. I'm definitely losing my mind playing this game on the hardest mode here. So, what we'll do, we'll find somebody to raid real quick. We'll go raid somebody. And then we'll hang out. I'll be down in Discord. Probably not tonight, but I'll be down in Discord the rest of the week kind of hanging out. We will keep focusing on getting that admin course put together. The automation course put together. So you guys are able to do that here soon. And then, yeah, that's what we'll do. That'll be the goal. All right, let me take this and take that and take that and not that and not that and take more lifesteal, sure. Take that and that and that and not that. We're gonna let all those things curse. All right, let me go find somebody to raid over here. Who's out there doing Linuxy things that we can go see what they're doing? Triple Jump Games is on, but he's not really doing. He's doing more game. Well, I've been playing games, so yeah, we'll go hit Triple Jump Games. So, if you guys don't know him, he builds games on stream. He's a legit developer that does it also in his free time. So, we'll go hit him up, and if you guys want, just say we'll say that our raid message is do all the Linux. So, I will see some of you guys later on, and the rest of you guys I will see. I don't know, maybe never. All right, take care.